The protagonist, in his past life, unleashes a torrent of raw power while battling a grotesque demon amidst a maelstrom of searing red energy and volatile flames. The Demon King roars as its skeletal visage fills the frame. The protagonist, battered but resolute, clenches his jaw in defiance. A colossal, swirling vortex of crimson energy, charged with destructive force, bears down upon the protagonist, threatening to obliterate him entirely. Suddenly, a surge of brilliant blue energy erupts from the protagonist's hand, a stark contrast to the demon's fiery assault as he experiences a sudden realization. With a powerful stomp, the protagonist manifests a wave of freezing ice, shattering the ground beneath him as a small, glowing companion watches nearby. A towering wall of razor-sharp ice spears erupts from the ground, engulfing the Demon King, whose eyes glow with a chilling blue light as it's caught in the frigid attack. Demon King lets out a guttural roar as the glacial magic consumes its massive form, freezing it solid. Trapped and cracking, the Demon King struggles against its icy prison, uttering a final, desperate word. The protagonist stands amidst the remnants of the shattered ice, his form silhouetted against the fading red magical residue, declaring that the battle is not yet over. The protagonist's eyes, once filled with battle intent, now hold a flicker of confusion and disorientation as a golden light washes over him. His eyes close, then open with a renewed sense of purpose as he notes that the threat has been neutralized. Great Wizard, the protagonist's past self, rides triumphantly on horseback, holding a banner high to signify his victory over the Demon King. Cheers erupt from the jubilant crowd as an announcement declares that peace has returned to the world. The serene blue sky stretches above the rustic orphanage where the wizard was born and raised. Children play joyfully in front of the orphanage, a symbol of the protagonist's humble beginnings. A grand carriage arrives at the orphanage, its presence a stark contrast to the simple surroundings as the protagonist stands ready in his past form. The protagonist looks surprised as a small voice calls out to him. A small girl with wide, innocent eyes clutches a teddy bear, her gaze fixed on the protagonist. Little girl looks up at the protagonist, asking if he is heading out. The protagonist smiles gently, reassuring her and telling her to be good and wait for his return. The protagonist pats the girl's head as she beams, asking him to teach her magic once he comes back. An opulent chandelier hangs over the grand hall of the royal castle as voices react to the arrival of a distinguished guest. The king, accompanied by a prince, extends a welcoming hand, heartily greeting the great wizard. Protagonist kneels respectfully, a confident smirk playing on his lips as he greets the king and the prince. Suddenly, the protagonist, now in his current form, plunges through the air towards a modern building, a look of utter bewilderment on his face. Soaked and disoriented, the protagonist's purple eyes glow with confusion as he wonders about his location. The protagonist looks up in surprise as a voice taunts him, noting that he is still conscious. A menacing bully grins, flanked by his cronies, as he mockingly praises the protagonist for being a resilient punching bag. The bully's hand gestures dismissively as he addresses the protagonist by a new name. The protagonist sits in a fountain, surrounded by the bullies, utterly confused and asking about his own identity and who the strangers are. Bully's face contorts in anger, yelling at the protagonist to stop saying such strange things. A hand violently grabs the protagonist's hair, eliciting a pained grunt as the assault continues. The bully delivers a brutal punch, splashing water as he screams at the protagonist to wake up. The protagonist's eye glows with an ethereal blue light as he internally questions the situation, leading to a deeper realization. With a surge of power, the protagonist's eyes ignite with blue energy, manifesting water magic as swirling currents engulf him, hinting at his reawakened abilities. The unleashed water magic erupts into sharp, powerful currents, forcefully pushing back everyone caught in its radius and leaving one figure sprawled on the ground. One of the delinquents, thrown violently by the surge, cries out in disbelief, "Gah!" as he slides across the slick, water-covered ground. Kurabane stands unfazed, the water magic still swirling around him. One of the fallen delinquents wonders in shock, did he do that just now? While another calls out, "Makabe-san, are you alright?" Kurabane's purple eyes glow with intensity as he thinks to himself, "No, there's no way." Red-haired delinquent, seething with frustration, mutters "TSK whatever" before ordering his group to retreat. "Let's go, guys." The group of delinquents, defeated and humiliated, quickly flee the scene, leaving Kurabane behind. Kurabane, still slightly bewildered by the sudden turn of events, wonders aloud, "Geez, what was that about?" Mysterious voice resonates, accompanied by a purple glow, informing Kurabane, "You release that much power even though your magic is suppressed." The voice praises, "As expected of you, Leon-sama," as Kurabane looks up in confusion, thinking, "What is this light?" The spirit suggests, "Let us go and talk over there instead," prompting a surprised, "Hey," from Kurabane as the light leads him away. Ren follows the mysterious purple light, his gaze fixed on it as it ascends towards the clear blue sky. The spirit confirms, it should be alright now that we're all the way over here, as Ren follows her to a more private location. Ren's expression remains a mix of confusion and wonder as he processes the sudden appearance of the mysterious spirit. A surge of purple energy emanates from Ren's hand, causing him to grimace and exclaim, "Ugh!" The purple energy coalesces, fully revealing a fairy-like spirit floating gracefully with vibrant twin tails and an ornate dress. The spirit joyfully embraces Ren, exclaiming, "Leon-sama, we finally meet." A flustered Ren can only manage a surprised, "Hey." Holding the small spirit, Ren demands answers. "What in the world are you? If you know what's going on, then please tell me." The small spirit introduces herself with a bright smile, stating, "I am Luna." Ren questions, "The goddess messenger?" Luna confirms, "Yes, to put you there." Luna continues her explanation, detailing her purpose for bringing Ren to his current situation. A student with a concerned expression approaches and asks, "Did a gate appear around here?" Luna urgently whispers to Ren, "Leon-sama, this smells like trouble. Just act like you don't know." Ren recognizes the voice, thinking, "This voice, Luna, huh?" Ren feigns ignorance, replying, "No, I didn't see one." The student remains unconvinced, stating, "Is that so? I could have sworn I sensed its presence." The student lets out a small ah, as if a realization has suddenly dawned on her. Ren recognizes her and asks, "Aren't you the student who was tangled up with those delinquents earlier?" before cutting himself off. The girl bows respectfully, offering a sincere apology for the earlier incident. She explains, "I tried to stop them, but I was far too late in noticing," as Ren reaches out to reassure her. Ren reassures her with a gentle smile, "Well, it's not really something that you should be apologizing for." He privately thinks, "She seems like a very upright girl." Girl looks up, her expression thoughtful as she processes Ren's words. She concludes, "If you have not seen a gate around here, then I'll be returning to the dorms." Ren simply replies, "Alright." Ren expresses his surprise to Luna. That girl was amazing. To think she could sense the gate's presence. Luna teases, "And this development is just like that, you raised her flag, just like in a game." A bewildered Ren thinks, "I don't get it." As night falls, the view shifts to the imposing structure of the student dorms where Ren is staying. Ren sits silently at his desk, surrounded by a barrage of hateful notes plastered across his walls, each one a testament to the school's animosity toward him. Ren looks up at the multitude of taunting messages with a grim understanding, thinking, "I get it now." As Ren grasps the doorknob, he reflects, that girl from earlier must have been a special case. Luna, witnessing the hateful messages, reacts with furious disbelief, exclaiming, "What's with them? Why would they write such vulgar things?" Eleanor looks around the messy room, her eyes landing on the boy. This boy, Ren, it seems he lived a difficult life. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Ren looks up with a serious expression. "There's something I need to ask. What kind of school is this, anyway?" His gaze sharpens as he notices a familiar emblem. That crest, it's the same one Shark wore. Did he come to this world along with the Demon King? Eleanor shakes her head, her expression soft but uncertain. "Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't have perfect knowledge of this world either." Floating near the desk, she continues her explanation. "I have been observing this world to guide you, but I haven't been able to locate the prince at all." Ren rests his chin on his hand, deep in thought. "I see. I want to investigate, but..." He looks out the window at the academy flag. "Even if I put the matter of Shark on hold, I need to understand how this academy works." Morning light filters through the curtains, signaling the start of a new day at the academy. A steady hand reaches for a pair of scissors, preparing to make a necessary change for the path ahead. After a quick trim, Eleanor beams at the reflection in the mirror. "There, that should do it. You look great, Leon-sama. Very cool." Ren adjusts his uniform, determined to blend in. "For now, I'll act as the original Ren." Eleanor chirps, "Right? Make sure to copy the way he speaks, too." The academy halls are bustling with students, all unaware of the legendary soul now walking among them. Ren walks through the courtyard with a calm, detached air, observing his surroundings with a bag slung over his shoulder. Inside the classroom, he sits quietly, thinking to himself, "There are only a few things I know for sure about this world." He recalls the history of this era. Several years ago, mysterious rifts called gates appeared, bringing magic into the world and awakening those who could wield it. Monsters emerged from the gates, forcing humanity into a constant struggle for survival against the new threat. Hunters began entering these gates to slay monsters and extract mana crystals, which quickly became the world's most valuable resource. These individuals became known as seekers. As the prestige of the profession grew, the number of aspiring seekers skyrocketed. The Sacred Imperial Academy was established to train these seekers, though its internal politics were far from holy. Kurobane Ren turns his head, his sharp purple eyes catching a flicker of intense energy nearby. In the training field, a girl radiates a powerful blue aura. She is the student council president, Izumiya Makoto, a top-tier magic user. Watching her from the window, Ren acknowledges her skill. She's quite proficient with magic, he thinks, observant but unimpressed. He heads back into the hallway, focused on his next move. Now then, time to look into. His internal monologue is cut short by a mocking voice. Kurobane-kun, someone calls out from behind him. Red-haired bully and his lackeys block his path. Time for a few errands, he sneers. Ren recognizes him. It's the guy from yesterday. The bully leans in close with a menacing grin. I'm really in the mood for some bread today. Kurobane Ren stares back with a blank expression. He wonders, before bluntly replying, then why don't you go buy some? The bully's face contorts with rage at the unexpected defiance. You, he growls, baring his teeth. You bastard, you've been acting arrogant since yesterday, he screams, while Izumiya watches the confrontation from a distance. Mana begins to swirl around the bully's hand as he loses his temper. Here, I'll give you something for lunch. Seeing the illegal use of magic in the hallway, Izumiya steps forward. Stop right there. Ignoring the warning, the bully activates his skill. Stone Hammer, a massive, jagged rock forms in the air and hurtles toward Ren. Suddenly, the air fractures. A surge of dark purple energy erupts from Kurobane Ren, meeting the Stone Hammer head-on. Ren activates his own ability, Grim Eater. The purple mana manifests as a void, devouring the incoming attack. Stone Hammer is pulverized instantly, its mana consumed by the overwhelming power of Ren's dark aura. As the dust settles, Kurobane Ren stands completely unfazed, sparks of purple magic still dancing around his fingers. Lingering purple mana slowly dissipates into the air, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. The red-haired student stands frozen, his jaw dropping in pure disbelief as he stares at the monster standing before him. Without a second glance, Kurobane Ren turns his back on the chaos, casually stating he's heading out while the other student desperately tries to call him back. Izumiya watches him go, her eyes wide with shock as she wonders what kind of power she just witnessed. Later, Kurobane Ren finds a note in his hand. It's a direct summons to the training grounds after school, signed by a student named Mac-Abe. Eleanor floats beside him, suggesting they simply ignore the obvious trap, but Kurobane Ren has other plans. He knows that to live a quiet life, he needs to eliminate these minor hindrances once and for all. Eleanor's eyes light up with a mischievous fire, ready to see her master crush anyone in his way, though Kurobane Ren tells her to stay hidden for now. Night falls over the academy, and the outdoor training grounds are bathed in the cold glow of the floodlights. Mac-Abe is already there, flanked by his lackeys, acting smug as if he's already won. He demands to know what happened to the weakling he used to bully, but Kurobane Ren offers nothing but a cold, dismissive response. Mac-Abe puts on a show of honor, claiming this will be a fair one-on-one duel to teach the acting-up student a lesson. Kurobane Ren's eyes glow with a sharp purple light as he accepts, but on one condition: they never bother him again. Mac-Abe bursts into a mocking laugh, remembering how Kurobane Ren used to tremble at just a slight push. Unfazed by the taunts, Kurobane Ren simply raises his hand and beckons him forward. Come. Makabe's face twists into a snarl. He's done talking, it's time for violence. Suddenly, the one-on-one promise is shattered as his two lackeys charge in from the flanks with magic at the ready. Wind and water magic swirl together, creating a pincer attack designed to crush Kurobane Ren instantly. Mac-Abe laughs like a maniac, admitting he lied about the fair fight just to get the upper hand. But Kurobane Ren doesn't look surprised. In fact, he expected this level of cowardice. He raises his hand with absolute composure as the spells close in. Activate Denial Mirror. A dark, shimmering shield of attribute magic erupts from his palm. Incoming attacks hit the mirror and are instantly neutralized, leaving the attackers vulnerable and confused. The shockwave sends the lackeys reeling back, their coordinated assault falling apart in a single second. Makabe's eyes bulge in terror. He can't comprehend how his plan failed so miserably. Kurobane Ren steps through the settling dust, his voice cold and final. He won't be falling for a sneak attack ever again. A violent purple flame ignites in his hand, radiating a terrifying level of mana that dwarfs everyone present. He stares down his opponent, the floodlights casting long, menacing shadows across the training ground. Mac-Abe is trembling now, the bravado completely gone as he realizes he's trapped with a predator. He tries to process what he's seeing. Magic is supposed to be limited to the 4 elements, yet this purple energy defies all logic. He attempts one last desperate verbal jab, questioning how a useless person like Kurobane Ren could possess such power. But the words die in his throat as Kurobane Ren's aura intensifies, turning the atmosphere suffocating. Kurobane Ren looks down on him with pure disgust. He can't believe someone so weak could be so arrogant. Abe tries to conjure a counterattack, screaming out the start of a flame spell, but he's far too slow. In a blur of motion, Kurobane Ren closes the distance, his purple energy trailing behind him like a comet. He reaches out, his hand glowing with the concentrated power of his transcendental magic. Abe can only let out a pathetic gasp as the gap between their power levels is laid bare in the most brutal way possible. His vision blurs as the world fades to black, his consciousness slipping away under the weight of total defeat. Kurobane Ren stands tall over the fallen, a dark, crackling energy still swirling around his hand as the dust settles. Eleanor floats nearby, explaining that his dark attribute magic is truly terrifying, possessing the rare ability to rob others of their mana. Kurobane Ren looks down with cold indifference, certain that after this display of power, the nuisance won't be bothering him ever again. He breathes a sigh of relief, glad the confrontation ended without any unnecessary complications, but his peace is short-lived. Sudden, violent vibration shakes the very air, catching Eleanor completely off guard as she panics at the unknown source. Kurobane Ren snaps his head toward the stadium lights, his instincts screaming that something far more dangerous than a school bully has just arrived. Blaring sirens pierce the sky with an evacuation alert, painting the night in a crimson hue of impending doom. The announcement confirms the nightmare. A gate has manifested right within the academy grounds. Kurobane Ren and Eleanor freeze as the voice over the intercom reveals the terrifying truth. This is a Category Red, the highest threat level possible. Warning is clear. All students must avoid combat and evacuate immediately toward the safety of the city. Amidst the fleeing crowd, Izumiya stops dead in her tracks, her eyes burning with resolve as she decides to head straight for the danger. A faculty member tries to restrain her, shouting that the headmaster has strictly forbidden anyone from engaging a Category Red gate. He warns her that if she fails this reckless raid, the entire academy will be held responsible for the catastrophe. Izumiya remains silent, her expression unreadable as the weight of the situation sinks in. The official reminds her of the past, where a similar gate caused immense damage and loss to the neighboring residents. But Izumiya counters, her voice steady as she reminds him that they train at this academy specifically to handle these nightmares. The final, determined look, she declares her intention to seal the gate herself, regardless of the orders. At the gate, the portal flares with hellish intensity as monstrous wolves begin to pour out into the human world. A terrified student flees for his life, the hot breath of a predator right on his heels as he screams in desperation. In a frantic attempt to defend himself, he summons a jagged pillar of earth magic to strike back. The monster is unfazed, its glowing red eyes fixed on its prey as it prepares to tear the boy apart. The student lets out a blood-curdling scream as the pack closes in, his meager defenses crumbling instantly. Suddenly, a flurry of ice spears rains down from the sky, skewering the monsters and pinning them to the ground in a flash of blue light. Lethal projectiles find their marks with surgical precision, neutralizing the immediate threat before the student can be harmed. Izumiya stands at the center of the storm, her hand outstretched as she channels powerful water and ice magic to hold the line. She checks on the survivor, ordering him to find his classmates and get as far away from the gate as possible. As the student runs for safety, Izumiya realizes that many others are still trapped in the vicinity, and the city is far too close for comfort. He steels her heart, knowing that the only way to end this nightmare is to take the fight directly to the source. Her eyes fixate on the massive, burning archway. She must defeat the master of the gate to stop the invasion. From the shadows, Kurobane Ren watches silently as the girl vanishes into the swirling energy of the portal. He turns to Eleanor, calling her Luna, and asks what exactly is required to permanently shut down a gate of this magnitude. Eleanor explains that they must eliminate the monster controlling the rift, the entity commonly known as the boss. Kurobane Ren decides they should head in immediately, but Eleanor hesitates, calling him Leon-sama and expressing concern. She warns him that while his dark attribute magic is incredibly potent, it drains a massive amount of mana with every use. Kurobane Ren remains undeterred, stating clearly that his current actions are driven by his own will and no one else's. Eleanor bows her head in silent acceptance, ready to follow her master into the depths of the Category Red Gate. Kurobane Ren, his gaze sharp and resolute, knew he couldn't simply stand by. He declared that he couldn't ignore a threat he knew could be devastating. Eleanor, ever observant, offered a knowing smile, commenting on Kurobane Ren's inherently kind nature, even amidst such grim decisions. With a final, resolute breath, Kurobane Ren planted his hand, signaling their immediate departure into the unknown. He launched himself forward, a blur of motion, with Eleanor echoing his determination as they plunged into the gate's fiery depths. Deep within the Category Red Gate, Izumiya struggled against a horde of monstrous wolves, her breath ragged as she fought to survive. The intensity of the Category Red monsters was overwhelming, and Izumiya acknowledged the sheer difficulty of the struggle, her magic flaring defensively. Meanwhile, Amain Naruse found herself trapped, a colossal red serpent monster looming menacingly behind her, its scales glowing with malevolent power. Amain Naruse's eyes widened in sheer terror as the monster prepared its strike, a desperate cry escaping her lips. The serpent unleashed its formidable deadly claw attack, a torrent of purple energy threatening to engulf Amain Naruse entirely. Amain Naruse braced herself, attempting to shield against the devastating impact, her expression a mix of shock and desperation. Her eyes reflected the blinding purple energy, a silent gasp of realization or pain as the attack connected. Suddenly, Kurobane Rin materialized, his presence radiating dark power, having intercepted the attack and saved Amain Naruse from certain doom. Amain Naruse, safe but shaken, looked up at her unexpected savior, confirming his identity, Kurobane Rin. Kurobane Rin calmly stepped off the now defeated serpent, as Amain Naruse expressed her profound gratitude for his timely intervention. With a reassuring smile, Kurobane Rin expressed his relief that Amain Naruse had escaped unharmed. However, Amain Naruse's curiosity quickly turned to suspicion, demanding to know the nature of his unique magic and his true identity. Kurobane Rin, unfazed, deftly steered the conversation away from himself, his expression serious. He emphasized their immediate priority, closing the Category Red Gate, questioning if Amain Naruse shared the same objective. Amain Naruse's eyes widened in realization, momentarily speechless by his directness. Regaining her composure, Amain Naruse conceded his point and agreed that they should immediately get moving to address the gate. As they moved, Amain Naruse's mind raced, recalling fragments of information about Kurobane Rin from their academy. He remembered his abysmal performance in mock battles, consistently placing last, a stark contrast to the power he just displayed. Her thoughts circled back to the glaring discrepancy, wondering how someone with such a poor evaluation could possess such formidable abilities. Their pace quickened, feet pounding against the fiery ground as they pressed deeper into the perilous dungeon. The group navigated the treacherous terrain, a pack of relentless wolf-like monsters hot on their heels, forcing them to maintain their frantic escape. Izumiya unleashed a powerful aqua prison spell, conjuring a massive sphere of swirling water to contain their pursuers. The aqua prison activated, trapping the ravenous monsters within its aquatic vortex, momentarily halting their advance. With the monsters contained, Kurobane Rin and Amain Naruse continued their desperate dash, leaving Izumiya's powerful spell to buy them precious time. Kurobane Rin observed Izumiya's display of strength, acknowledging her power, while also recalling her high evaluation as a top academy student. The ground itself seemed to erupt around them, shards of rock and fire exploding as they pressed onward, the dungeon's dangers never ceasing. A colossal rock golem burst forth from the fiery earth, its massive form towering over Kurobane Rin, presenting a new, formidable obstacle. The golem lunged with a devastating punch, but Kurobane Rin, moving with impossible speed, deftly evaded the crushing blow. Activating his dark attribute magic, Kurobane Rin's form became wreathed in a swirling vortex of potent purple energy. He unleashed Blind Edge, a concentrated blast of dark power that struck with pinpoint accuracy, shattering the ground beneath him. The rock golem crumbled instantly, defeated in a single, precise strike, leaving Amain Naruse astonished by the display of power. Amain Naruse's mind reeled as she processed the attack. He had targeted the golem's weak point, its eyes, with flawless execution. It wasn't merely his unique magic, she realized, but the incredible speed and accuracy with which Kurobane Rin activated and wielded it. Kurobane Rin moved with the practiced ease of a veteran mage, as if he had been honing his combat skills for decades. The heavy air of the dungeon thickens as a blinding light spills from the cavern's maw, signaling the arrival of a beast that defies the very laws of nature. Standing at the threshold of the inferno, Kurobane Rin turns to his companion with a steady gaze, asking if she's ready, to which Izumiya offers a firm, unwavering nod. Sudden tremor shakes the ground as a jagged, crimson force erupts, the first warning sign of the predator lurking within the heat. Izumiya's eyes widen in sheer terror as she recognizes the creature from her studies, a lava dragon, a calamity-class monster that few ever survive to talk about. Kurobane Rin remains calm, warning Izumiya to stay sharp. The dragon's reach is vast, and it will use both its scorching breath and its whip-like tail to keep them at bay. Beast lets out a deafening roar that vibrates through their very bones. It's coming, and there is no more time for talk. A pillar of concentrated solar fire erupts from the dragon's throat, turning the stone floor into a river of molten slag in an instant. The dragon's tail, a massive spiked appendage wreathed in purple flames, lashes out with the speed of a thunderbolt, narrowly missing Izumiya. The impact shatters the rock, sending debris flying as the monster demonstrates its overwhelming physical dominance. Realizing the accuracy of Kurobane Ren's warning, Izumiya gathers her resolve and begins to manifest her mana, the air around her turning frigid. She unleashes her counterattack, shouting the name of her spell, Icicle Lance, as massive shards of frozen energy materialize in the air. The frozen projectiles strike the dragon's hide, catching the beast off guard as the elemental clash creates a violent burst of steam. Despite the direct hit, Izumiya breaks into a cold sweat. The dragon's internal heat is so intense that her water-based magic is evaporating before it can deal a finishing blow. Kurobane Ren steps forward into the scorching haze, his eyes burning with a cold light as he tells her that the battle has only just begun. The dragon retaliates with its deadly claw skill, its talons glowing with a lethal purple aura that promises certain death to anything it touches. Its massive wings unfurl, casting a shadow of despair over the battlefield as it prepares to take the fight to the skies. With a powerful beat of its wings, the lava dragon ascends, looking down upon the humans like a god of destruction from above. Kurobane Ren watches the beast retreat into the air, annoyed that it's using its flight to evade them, calling it a cheap trick for such a massive creature. Izumiya rushes to his side, her voice trembling slightly as she asks for a new plan now that their target is out of reach. Kurobane Ren asks if she can utilize magic beyond the water attribute, and when she confirms, a tactical spark ignites in his mind. He gives her a direct order. She must use her power to slow the beast down, even if only for a fleeting second. Trusting his leadership implicitly, Izumiya centers herself, her expression hardening as she prepares to unleash a different kind of storm. Vibrant green currents of wind, attribute magic, begin to swirl around her, creating a localized cyclone that defies the dragon's heat. She focuses all her mana into a single point, her hands glowing with the concentrated pressure of the atmosphere itself. With a cry of aerial blast, she releases a massive shockwave of wind that slams into the dragon, pinning it against the cavern walls. The dragon shrieks in pain as the wind shears through its scales, its flight path disrupted by the sheer force of the gale. Eleanor's voice rings out with excitement, calling out to her master that the dragon has finally stopped its movement, leaving it wide open. This is the moment Kurobane Ren was waiting for. He activates his ultimate authority, Abyss Ruler, as spectral purple butterflies swarm the area. With a simple gesture of his hand, he commands the very essence of the void to consume his enemy. Butterflies erupt into a blinding violet light, each one a fragment of absolute power that ignores all physical defenses. The lava dragon is swallowed by the purple radiance, its screams silenced as the magic of the Abyss Ruler tears through its soul. As the light fades, the two warriors stand amidst the settling dust, the overwhelming presence of the dragon finally gone. The massive beast lies defeated on the scorched earth, its once mighty wings broken and its fire extinguished forever. Kurobane Ren exhales a long, tired sigh, the weight of the battle finally leaving his shoulders as the dungeon grows quiet once more. Amain Naru's voice breaks the silence, confirming Kurobane Ren's victory with a simple, yet profound, "You did it." Amain Naru smiles, admitting she has many questions for him, but for now, she holds them back. Izumiya blushes, quickly interjecting that it wasn't her, but entirely Kurobane Ren's power that led to their triumph. Eleanor, ever enthusiastic, cheers for Kurobane Ren, exclaiming, "Kurobane Ren is so cool." Izumiya continues to deny the praise, insisting it was her magic that provided crucial support. Amain Naru's, with a gentle smile, settles the debate by affirming that both of them were truly amazing. Eleanor concedes that Izumiya is amazing, but a hint of concern crosses her tiny face, suggesting there's more to consider. Kurobane Ren's thoughts drift to Izumiya's magic, acknowledging its immense power but also its heavy mana consumption. He inwardly worries that if Izumiya continues to push herself so hard, she could soon find herself in grave danger. Kurobane Ren observes the aftermath, noting their safe return and the controlled damage to the surrounding vicinity. He reflects on the recent Category Red Gate, acknowledging their fortunate escape with their lives. Amain Naru's attention is suddenly drawn as she calls out President Izumiya. A middle-aged man in a suit confronts them, his voice sharp with anger as he demands to know the meaning of their blatant disregard for his orders. The system identifies the man as Shido Atsushi, headmaster of the Sacred Imperial Academy, a mage-developing institution. Headmaster continues, addressing Amain Naru's directly, President Izumiya. His stern gaze intensifies as he questions her defiance, asking what she thinks she's doing by disobeying his instructions. Kurobane Ren, unfazed, internally asks Eleanor who the man is. Eleanor's voice echoes in his mind, revealing he is the headmaster of this academy, Shido Atsushi. Eleanor's internal monologue continues, explaining that Shido Atsushi founded the Sacred Imperial Academy, a renowned institution for training mages, and has amassed a vast fortune. Kurobane Ren's eyes glow with a sharp, purple intensity as a dark thought crosses his mind. If this man truly heads the academy, it wouldn't be strange for him to have connections with Shark. Kurobane Ren dismisses his own suspicion, thinking it's too early to assume such a connection. Meanwhile, Amain Naruse formally apologizes to the headmaster. Amain Naruse tries to explain, stating they couldn't simply watch people be in danger. The headmaster cuts her off with a dismissive humph, sternly telling her she cannot use her sense of justice as an excuse for everything. The headmaster's voice booms, challenging her, "What would you have done if you failed to handle it?" Intervening, Kurobane Ren respectfully asks the headmaster if there aren't better words to describe Amain Naruse's courage and resolve. The headmaster turns his furious gaze on Kurobane Ren, demanding to know who he is, then dismisses him, stating outsiders have no right to speak. Amain Naruse's eyes flash blue as she vehemently defends Kurobane Ren, declaring he is not an outsider and that their success in closing the Category Red Gate was entirely thanks to him. Headmaster recoils in shock, his face contorting as he demands, "What did you say?" A chilling, mocking laugh erupts from the headmaster, filling the air with an unsettling sound. He then looks down at Kurobane Ren, his laughter turning into a sneer as he recognizes him as the academy's lowest-ranked student. The final, dismissive scoff, he declares the situation utterly ridiculous and turns to walk back to his car. Amain Naruse, her anger boiling, cries out, "Headmaster," as he enters his vehicle. He snarls, calling it absurd to suggest the most incompetent student closed a Category Red Gate. He then challenges Amain Naruse to handle the aftermath herself if she has time for such jokes. With a screech of tires, the headmaster's car speeds away, leaving Kurobane Ren and Amain Naruse alone in the quiet night. Kurobane Ren stares after the retreating car, his thoughts focused on Shido Atsushi, contemplating whether he truly has ties with Shark. Imposing silhouette of the academy building stands tall against the night sky, a silent witness to the earlier confrontation. Back in his room, Kurobane Ren sighs in exhaustion, loosening his tie. Eleanor, equally drained, slumps on the floor beside him as he remarks, "Phew, sigh, that was one eventful day." Eleanor, still fuming, declares she cannot forgive the headmaster's arrogance, questioning his high and mighty attitude. She concludes that it only highlights how little regard they have for Kurobane Ren. Eleanor lets out a heavy sigh, her expression turning wistful as she reflects on how truly special Izumiya is. The weight of being oppressed, of being a target, settles heavily upon Kurobane Ren. He endures violence, his body battered, surrounded by the fallen figures of others. Tears stream down his face, a raw expression of anguish and helplessness. Yet, a flicker of something defiant ignites deep within Kurobane Ren's purple eye. The overwhelming emotion is pure, unadulterated frustration. Kurobane Ren turns his back, unable to face the source of his torment, lost in thought. Eleanor, sensing his turmoil, calls out softly, questioning his state, remembering his past identity. Kurobane Ren stands by the window, gazing at the moonlit sky, contemplating his path forward. With a hardened gaze, Kurobane Ren declares his intent to make his oppressors face the consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, the middle-aged antagonist sits relaxed in his opulent office, observing the world outside. He exhales a puff of smoke, a contemplative hum escaping his lips as he reviews a document. The middle-aged antagonist scoffs, deeming Kurobane Ren a failure for daring to criticize him, finding the audacity unpleasant. A smug grin crosses his face as he lights a cigar, remarking on Kurobane Ren's ignorance of his impending expulsion. Elsewhere, Izumiya stands under a warm shower, lost in thought. She ponders Kurobane Ren, who is supposedly the lowest ranked, yet she feels his hidden power, knowing it shouldn't be possible. Reaching for a towel, Izumiya reaffirms her conviction that something more profound is at play. Her blue eyes sharpen with determination. Izumiya is certain that something unusual is unfolding. The Grand Academy buildings stand under a bright, clear sky, signifying a new day. As Kurobane Ren ascends the stairs, a voice calls out, requesting a moment of his time. Kurobane Ren recognizes the approaching student as Naruse Shuya, the student council vice president. Naruse Shuya confronts Kurobane Ren, stating he heard that Kurobane Ren and President Izumiya arrived from outside the gate yesterday. Naruse Shuya's gaze hardens as he accuses Kurobane Ren of attempting to exploit the situation and loot resources from inside the gate. He dismisses Izumiya's account of Kurobane Ren's help as a mere ruse, telling him a man with no abilities should cease causing trouble for the president. Kurobane Ren internally fumes at the rude Four Eyes, clarifying that he was merely attempting to block the gate. Naruse Shuya scoffs, refusing to believe Kurobane Ren's words, citing his abysmal record of never winning a single mock battle. Kiribane Ren's attention shifts as he spots Amain Naruse approaching. Amain Naruse addresses Kiribane Ren, stating she has been searching for him. Naruse Shuya dismisses the matter, instructing Kiribane Ren to remain silent and allow the student council to handle everything. Naruse Shuya informs Amain Naruse that he will see her at the student council meeting this afternoon, to which she hesitantly agrees. Amain Naruse turns to Kiribane Ren, inquiring if Naruse Shuya said anything to him. She then relays the message that the headmaster was calling for him. Kiribane Ren arrives at the headmaster's office, where a stern declaration is about to be made. The middle-aged antagonist, the headmaster, directly orders Kiribane Ren to drop out of the academy. Amain Naruse protests, demanding to know why, but the headmaster simply states his reason is simple. The headmaster reveals Kiribane Ren's abysmal practical magic scores and his complete lack of mock battle victories since enrollment. He coldly asserts that students without magic talent have no future, declaring the expulsion a mercy. Kiribane Ren silently bends down, retrieving the dropped document that seals his fate. With a shadow obscuring his eyes, Kiribane Ren challenges the headmaster, asking if proving his strength is all that's required. Kiribane Ren, his eyes still obscured by shadow, states his audacious condition for the month's mock battles. If he wins every single one, his expulsion order must be rescinded. The middle-aged antagonist's face twists in disbelief as he demands to know what Kiribane Ren just uttered. The headmaster remains seated, his expression a mix of contemplation and irritation at Kiribane Ren's audacious proposal. A glance at the upcoming schedule reveals the gravity of Kiribane Ren's challenge, with his name prominently listed for the 31st. With a condescending smirk, the middle-aged antagonist accepts Kiribane Ren's reckless proposal, claiming he does so out of pity. A faint, knowing smirk plays on Kiribane Ren's lips, his eyes still obscured by shadow, a silent declaration of his unwavering resolve. Kiribane Ren's purple eyes glow with fierce determination as he confirms the agreement, stating that the matter is now decided. The scene shifts to the imposing student dorms, a sprawling complex illuminated against the night sky. Eleanor, with wide, surprised eyes, examines a document, her tiny form dwarfed by the paper that likely details Kiribane Ren's challenging schedule. Kiribane Ren calmly holds the schedule, his gaze steady, while Eleanor peeks out from behind it, her concern evident. As Kiribane Ren walks away, Izumiya calls out, urging him to reconsider his words and take back his audacious challenge. Izumiya, her blue eyes wide with worry, argues that expulsion for poor scores is unreasonable, emphasizing the perilous condition. A single loss would lead to his immediate expulsion. Izumiya acknowledges Kiribane Ren's abilities but tries to warn him about the formidable Vice President Naruse, only to be gently interrupted by Kiribane Ren himself. Kiribane Ren offers a soft smile, thanking Izumiya for her concern, but reiterates that securing the headmaster's rescission of the expulsion order is a goal worth any price. With fierce determination in his glowing purple eyes, Kiribane Ren declares his decision is final, vowing to prove himself to everyone. Eleanor muses thoughtfully, questioning why Kiribane Ren even needs to attend school, implying he has other options. Kiribane Ren firmly rejects Eleanor's suggestion, explaining that staying at the academy is crucial for his plan to step on Shark's tail, while Eleanor acknowledges his point but remains hesitant. Kiribane Ren, deep in thought, deduces a connection between Shark and the headmaster, a notion Eleanor silently refutes. Kiribane Ren considers the possibility of Shark possessing the headmaster, but Eleanor quickly dismisses the theory. Eleanor reveals her ability to sense beings from other dimensions when they are near, a statement Kiribane Ren acknowledges, agreeing that the headmaster's aura feels distinctly different. Kiribane Ren's purple eye narrows in thought as he outlines their strategy, continuously closing gates while relentlessly pursuing Belfar and Shark. Eleanor's expression turns somber, prompting Kiribane Ren to ask what troubles her. Eleanor softly replies nothing, but then confesses her guilt, feeling that Kiribane Ren bears a heavy burden, even if it was a divine order from the goddess. Kiribane Ren, surprised by Eleanor's sentiment, questions her, asking if she feels grateful. Gazing out at the night sky, Kiribane Ren explains his gratitude for a second chance at revenge against Shark and the opportunity to defeat Belfar, a threat to the world, concluding that if the goddess wills it, he will act. Kiribane Ren's expression hardens with resolve, a confident glint in his purple eyes. Eleanor, overwhelmed by Kiribane Ren's unwavering determination, lets out a soft sigh, her thoughts trailing off in admiration. Eleanor's internal thoughts echo her profound relief and happiness that Kiribane Ren, her Leon-sama, was the chosen one. With a gentle smile, Kiribane Ren decides it's time to rest and prepare for the mock battle scheduled for the next day. Eleanor, brimming with enthusiasm, pumps her tiny fist, cheering Kiribane Ren on to demonstrate his true power to the tyrannical headmaster. Eleanor silently wishes for Kiribane Ren's desires to be fulfilled, her hopes radiating with fervent belief. The scene dramatically shifts to a vast, sun-drenched stadium where the highly anticipated mock battles are about to commence. Kurobane Ren stands on the field, an opponent sneers, gloating about being matched against a loser who has yet to secure a single victory. From the stands, a chorus of students mockingly suggests taking it easy on Kurobane Ren, while others express feigned pity for his predicament. Unfazed by the taunts, Kurobane Ren's opponent charges his attack, declaring his intent to end the match with a single, decisive blow. He unleashes his power, commanding Kurobane Ren to eat this. A blinding wave of green energy erupts from his hand, tearing through the air with immense speed and force. The powerful attack sweeps across the arena, a vortex of destructive magic aimed directly at Kurobane Ren. Kurobane Ren's opponent smirks, confident in his victory, wondering if he overdid it and if Kurobane Ren was blown away. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the air, chilling Kurobane Ren's opponent to his core. Kurobane Ren stands unharmed in the distance, calmly stating, "Over here." Before his opponent can react, Kurobane Ren retaliates with a rapid Crimson Strike. Activating Earth attribute magic, Kurobane Ren unleashes a devastating rock blast, impacting his opponent with explosive force. The referee, stunned, announces the victor as Kurobane Ren stands triumphant over his defeated opponent, his purple eyes gleaming with quiet power. The stands erupt in disbelief as students exclaim that failure just beat the Academy's 23rd ranked. Amain Naruse observes the scene with a subtle smile, pondering the incredible speed required to dodge such an attack. Another student, adjusting his glasses, notes the insanely fast magic activation speed, his expression thoughtful. From her vantage point, Eleanor muses that Kurobane Ren didn't even need to resort to dark attribute magic, confident that Leon-sama could never lose to such an opponent. Eleanor beams with excitement, proclaiming that it's about time for everyone to realize Leon-sama's true abilities, wondering what further events will unfold. The announcement rings out once more, declaring winner Kurobane Ren, as another opponent is swiftly defeated by a golden burst of magic. With a calm demeanor, Kurobane Ren stands victorious over yet another fallen adversary, the repeated declaration of his triumph echoing across the arena. In his office, the middle-aged antagonist, revealed as the headmaster, stares at the results in utter disbelief, refusing to believe the incompetent student is now winning match after match. His brow furrowed, the middle-aged antagonist considers an unsettling possibility. Could Kurobane Ren have been the one to close the category red gate? He quickly dismisses the thought as impossible. Later, the middle-aged antagonist, in his role as headmaster, sternly commands someone to enter his office. Vice President Naruse steps in, formally asking if the headmaster had called for him. The headmaster informs Vice President Naruse that his next mock battle opponent will be Kurobane Ren, then asks if there's something wrong with the arrangement. The headmaster places a hand on Vice President Naru's shoulder, urging him to fight at full strength, adding a cautionary note against carelessness. Vice President Naru's eyes narrow with resolve, declaring that against Kurobane Ren, there is no just in case. Vice President Naruse confidently states he has studied all of Kurobane Ren's mock battles thus far, noting that Kurobane Ren only used Earth attribute magic. He dismisses Kurobane Ren's previous victories, asserting that despite beating others, Kurobane Ren is still no match for me. The headmaster simply acknowledges his confidence. Relieved smile spreads across the headmaster's face, concluding that since you've already said as much, I suppose there's no need to worry. The door to the headmaster's office closes, leaving the confident Vice President Naruse to his thoughts. Vice President Naruse walks away, internally deeming the headmaster way too cautious and pondering if there's something different about that guy Kurobane Ren. Despite his lingering questions, Vice President Naru's resolve hardens. There's no way I would lose to a man like him. Above the arena, the announcements continue to ring out, once again declaring winner Kurobane Ren. A male student in the stands expresses his awe, noting that Kurobane Ren hasn't lost a single match this month, wondering what incredible change has come over him. Kurobane Ren, holding a water bottle, regards the ongoing events with a subtle smile, thinking that things seem to be going smoothly. He then turns his attention to Izumiya, who approaches him with a water bottle, gently addressing her by name. Izumiya encourages Kurobane Ren, reminding him that just a little more and he'll be able to have the headmaster rescind his expulsion order, to which he calmly agrees. An excited announcer's voice booms across the stadium, signaling the start of the final mock battle of the day. The middle-aged antagonist faces Kurobane Ren, declaring he's perfectly fine and doesn't feel happy about the battle, stating, "I just need to win, you see." He then challenges Kurobane Ren, asking, "Do you plan on winning against me?" To which Kurobane Ren confidently replies, "Of course, that's what I intend to do." A sinister smirk plays across the middle-aged antagonist's lips, his hand subtly rising to his face, a clear sign of his underlying arrogance. The middle-aged antagonist's eyes glow with a fierce red aura as he scoffs, "What courage." He then menacingly vows, "Let me make you regret that decision." The stadium buzzes with anticipation as Eleanor, Izumiya, and other spectators watch intently, their expressions a mix of excitement and apprehension. Kurobane Ren stands firm, his purple eyes gleaming with unwavering resolve, ready to face whatever challenge comes his way. The two combatants stand at opposite ends of the arena, the tension palpable as the final mock battle is about to begin. The middle-aged antagonist's hands crackle with electricity as he thinks, to be honest, something about this man just doesn't sit right with me. He questions, how could someone from the bottom ranks suddenly go through awakening? Observing Kurobane Ren, the middle-aged antagonist's internal monologue continues, wondering, did he plan to hide his abilities and draw attention by racking up consecutive wins? He dismisses the thought as, how utterly ridiculous. The fierce glare, the middle-aged antagonist clenches his jaw, declaring his intent to expose Kurobane Ren, stating, I'll tear off that mask of his. He then commands, let's do this. The middle-aged antagonist conjures a bow of pure, crackling golden lightning, readying his first strike. He draws the lightning bow back, an arrow of concentrated energy forming, poised to unleash a devastating attack. A barrage of golden lightning arrows rains down from the sky, hurtling towards Kurobane Ren with immense speed and power. Kurobane Ren quickly activates his Earth attribute magic, slamming his hand to the ground to erect a defensive barrier. The middle-aged antagonist is visibly stunned, thinking, he blocked my lightning shot. Even though it's a high-rank wind attribute magic, he wonders why his magic didn't activate first, despite the attribute advantage. Male spectator gasps in awe, exclaiming, oh, as he witnesses Kurobane Ren's incredible feat, adding, he just blocked the vice president's magic. The middle-aged antagonist tries to regain his composure, thinking, no, calm down. He reiterates his belief that Kurobane Ren should only be able to use earth magic. With renewed determination, the middle-aged antagonist extends his hand, challenging Kurobane Ren with a defiant, how about this? Large, glowing rocks erupt from the ground, surrounding Kurobane Ren and preparing to crush him. The middle-aged antagonist clenches his fist, channeling his power to unleash the full force of his earth magic. A devastating rock shower rains down upon Kurobane Ren as massive boulders plummet from the sky. Kurobane Ren looks up, a swirling vortex of green wind energy forming around his hand, preparing his counterattack. He unleashes his wind attribute magic, a powerful gust of emerald energy erupting from his hand. Kurobane Ren unleashes an aerial blast, a massive green whirlwind that disperses the incoming rock shower, protecting him from harm. The middle-aged antagonist watches as the rocks scatter around his feet, his attack completely nullified by Kurobane Ren's wind magic. A look of profound shock washes over the middle-aged antagonist's face as he mutters, wind magic, how? The crowd erupts in cheers, one spectator shouting, amazing, as they witness Kurobane Ren counter the vice president's magic once again. Two male spectators react in disbelief, one asking, wait, did he just use another magic attribute? The other responds, yeah, this is ridiculous. Amain Naruse observes with a serious expression, thinking normally very few wizards use multiple attributes. She continues her internal monologue, explaining that mastering a single attribute usually takes a long time, emphasizing the difficulty. Amain Naruse clenches her hands, her thoughts racing, realizing that Kurobane Ren's ability to use multiple attributes with such proficiency is truly astonishing. Looking up in awe, Amain Naruse thinks, Kurobane-kun, her expression one of profound realization, concluding, you truly are incomprehensible. The middle-aged antagonist scoffs in frustration, muttering, he stubbornly insists that Kurobane Ren shouldn't be able to use anything other than earth magic. Kurobane Ren, with a challenging gaze, asks the middle-aged antagonist, aren't you looking down on other people a bit too much? The middle-aged antagonist's face contorts in anger, demanding, what did you say, as he reacts to Kurobane Ren's sharp words. Kurobane Ren turns his back, delivering a scathing critique of the middle-aged antagonist's character, jumping to conclusions, arrogance, and carelessness. He adds that despite his magic, the middle-aged antagonist's attitude still has a long way to go. The middle-aged antagonist's eyes widen in disbelief and fury as Kurobane Ren continues his harsh assessment, stating that part of you is still half-baked. With a clenched fist and a surge of dark energy, the middle-aged antagonist retorts, you're the one who shouldn't be getting ahead of himself. The middle-aged antagonist's gaze sweeps across the academy grounds as he declares that true acknowledgement is reserved only for the capable. He emphasizes that in this entire school, there is only one he truly recognizes. Meanwhile, Kurobane Ren's hand crackles with nascent blue energy as his inner thoughts reveal his true ambition. To stand by the chairman's side, he vows to reach the absolute peak of magic. The middle-aged antagonist's eyes narrow behind his glasses, a cold glint in his eyes as he dismissively warns Kurobane Ren not to even consider himself an equal. The surge of raw power, the middle-aged antagonist unleashes a devastating blue energy blast from his clenched fist, the air crackling with his formidable magic. Onlookers recoil from the sheer force, Izumiya exclaiming that this is the vice president's signature high-rank water attribute magic. Others murmur, impressed by the multi-attribute wizard's power, acknowledging its formidable nature. The middle-aged antagonist's hand glows intensely as he channels his water attribute magic, a torrent of icy power ready to be unleashed. Rin swiftly maneuvers, his foot striking the ground with precise force, generating a burst of energy that shatters the incoming ice. The middle-aged antagonist confidently asserts that his attack is unstoppable, claiming neither wind magic nor even an earth magic wall could hope to block or withstand its freezing power. His voice echoes with absolute certainty, proclaiming his victory to be guaranteed by the overwhelming force of his magic. A colossal pillar of jagged blue ice erupts from the ground, encasing Ren within its frozen depths, his silhouette barely visible through the frigid prison. Suddenly, a searing orange orb of fire ignites within the ice, radiating intense heat and causing cracks to spiderweb across the frozen structure. The middle-aged antagonist's eyes widen in disbelief, a single word escaping his lips as he questions the impossible sight before him. Ren stands resolute amidst the fiery inferno, while the middle-aged antagonist's voice trembles in the background, utterly stunned by the revelation of a 3-attribute user. Middle-aged antagonist's face contorts in pure terror, fire reflecting in his glasses, as Ren's voice cuts through the air to declare that he is not limited to merely 3 attributes. A powerful fist, crackling with dark, unholy energy, surges forward, poised to strike with overwhelming force. Massive ice prison shatters into countless fragments, exploding outwards in a dazzling display of raw power, completely obliterating the frozen barrier. Relentless barrages of blue energy and ice shards pummel the middle-aged antagonist, driving him backward with immense force, each impact rattling his very core. The middle-aged antagonist grimaces in agony, struggling to utter a choked FO as the crushing realization dawns on him. For attributes? Engulfed in a vortex of blue energy, the middle-aged antagonist is sent flying, his body twisting helplessly through the air under the relentless assault. His eyes, once arrogant, now reflect only utter defeat as he stares blankly, his spirit broken. The middle-aged antagonist collapses to his hands and knees, his body bruised and battered, staring up in disbelief at his victor. Standing tall over the defeated middle-aged antagonist, Ren's voice rings clear as he offers a solitary word of advice. Ren's gaze is unwavering as he imparts his wisdom. To truly reach the peak of magic, one must always face forward and relentlessly focus on their goals. As a wistful memory of children playing and a gentle, smiling face flickers through his mind, Ren adds a somber truth: there will always be things beyond one's grasp. Ren's fist clenches, a subtle tremor running through it, betraying the depth of his resolve and unspoken burdens. The visual emphasizes the internal struggle and the weight of his past, a silent testament to the challenges he has faced. The heavy sigh, Ren admits that even he, despite his power, still has crucial tasks that he must accomplish. The vibrant red and orange hues of the sunset paint the sky, marking the end of the intense confrontation. As the sun dips below the horizon, a voice calls out, sharp and clear, demanding Ren's attention. The scene shifts to the imposing silhouette of a grand academy building under the watchful gaze of a crescent moon as night fully descends. Back in a private office, the middle-aged antagonist's hand slams down, crushing a report in his furious grip as he roars in disbelief. This is impossible. His face contorted in rage, the middle-aged antagonist demands confirmation, utterly refusing to believe that the incompetent Ren could possibly be a 4-attribute user. Amain Naruse, her blue eyes sharp with conviction, interjects, stating unequivocally that the Category Red Gate was sealed only because of Ren's intervention. The middle-aged antagonist's eye twitches, his mind reeling in stubborn denial, whispering, "No, shouldn't be." In a stark, dramatic shift, the legendary Sung Jinwoo appears, his sharp, intense gaze piercing through the darkness, hinting at a power far beyond the current struggle. Stepping into the shadows, the tension is palpable as a new player enters the board, their movements deliberate and heavy with purpose. On a glowing screen, the name Ren is spat out with pure venom, a digital target for a growing hatred. The middle-aged antagonist seethes in the dark, burning a photo of Ren while vowing to have him expelled once and for all. Back at his desk, Ren remains calm, his focus unwavering even as Eleanor drifts into a peaceful sleep in the background. He reflects on his recent victory. By crushing the vice president in battle, he successfully forced Shido to revoke the expulsion order. His notebook reveals the bigger picture, connecting Prince Shark and Headmaster Shido to the looming threat of Demon King Belfar. Shido is the key, but the man has conveniently vanished on a business trip, leaving Ren to plan his next move alone. He circles his primary target with a pen, the mysterious and frequent appearance of the gates. If he can systematically block these gates, he'll be able to lure anyone secretly connected to Belfar out of their hiding spots. Looking out into the night sky, he wonders exactly who will be foolish enough to fall into his trap first. The next day at the academy, Kurobane Ren maintains his sharp, observant presence as the morning bells ring. A new figure steps into the classroom, drawing every student's attention with an air of practiced authority. Kurobane Ren's eyes narrow instantly, sensing something unusual about the man who just walked through the door. The man writes his name on the board, introducing himself as Hashiba Keisuke, the new teacher in charge of their class. With a polite, disarming smile, Hashiba acknowledges the sudden news and asks the students for their cooperation. The female students are immediately smitten, whispering about how handsome and kind the new teacher seems. Kurobane Ren, however, remains silent and skeptical, his purple eyes scanning for any hidden intent behind that friendly mask. Later in the cafeteria, the air is thick with gossip as students discuss the results of the recent mock battle. They marvel at how Kurobane Ren was insanely strong, completely overwhelming the Academy's second-ranked fighter. The students joke about asking the legendary hero to teach them magic, their admiration growing by the second. Amidst the chatter, Izumiya approaches Kurobane Ren, politely asking if the seat next to him is available. She places her tray down, acknowledging that he did exceptionally well during the mock battle. Sitting across from him, she calls the fight truly spectacular, her blue eyes reflecting genuine respect. She also offers a sincere thanks for what he did for Naruze-Kuya during their intense confrontation. Even though Naruze-Kuya felt frustrated by his defeat, Kurobane Ren's words managed to get through to him. Izumiya's expression darkens as she mentions the headmaster, stating she still cannot forgive his unreasonable attitude. She reveals that rumors are swirling about Shido, a former seeker, having some very shady connections recently. Kurobane Ren processes this information, his mind immediately linking these shady connections to the larger conspiracy. Suddenly, a news broadcast on the overhead monitor catches their attention, cutting through the cafeteria noise. Reports show that gates have been appearing with alarming frequency across the city lately. News anchor warns those who cannot use magic to stay far away from the gates under any circumstance. Eleanor's voice rings with urgency, warning that if these gates are left alone, the world will face total destruction. Savage monsters are already beginning to spill through, threatening to tear society apart with their relentless hunger. Kurobane Ren's gaze turns cold and determined. He won't allow these creatures to have their way in his world. He turns back to Izumiya, asking her to look into a specific lead that might help them get ahead of the threat. As night falls over the urban landscape, the time for planning ends and the hunt begins. Kurobane Ren prepares to patrol the streets, with Eleanor loyally following her master into the darkness. Eleanor joyfully remarks on Kurobane Ren's recent exploits, noting how he's been secretly clearing all the appearing gates with incredible speed, finding his clandestine actions incredibly cool. A brilliant emerald slash rips through the air, leaving a shimmering trail of energy in its wake. Eleanor exclaims at the swift appearance of the gate, identifying it as a Category Green gate. Kurobane Ren's foot lands softly, the ground beneath him pulsating with a faint green luminescence. Kurobane Ren observes their surroundings, realizing the location this time is a new challenge. Kurobane Ren notes their entry into a dense, dark forest. Eleanor, concerned by the low visibility, advises him to remain cautious as they proceed. The forest floor is littered with the defeated forms of various creatures, their bodies still and lifeless. Kurobane Ren and Eleanor gaze downwards, their expressions reflecting a shared sense of urgency. Kurobane Ren confirms they have reached the deepest part of the area. Eleanor expresses her confusion, observing that despite reaching the deepest area, there appears to be nothing there. Kurobane Ren shouts a warning, urging Eleanor, whom he calls Luna, to look behind her. A monstrous, clawed hand with razor-sharp talons suddenly seizes Eleanor, her eyes wide with shock. Eleanor lets out a terrified shriek as she is violently lifted into the air by the unknown assailant. A grotesque monster with a long, writhing red tongue and jagged teeth roars menacingly, its terrifying visage filling Eleanor with absolute dread. Eleanor screams in pure, unadulterated terror, her small face contorted in fear. Eleanor fiercely protests, thrashing against the monster's grasp and declaring that she is not something to be eaten. Kurobane Ren urgently commands Eleanor, using the name Luna, to remain still. Kurobane Ren's eyes ignite with purple energy as he prepares to unleash dark attribute magic. Jagged bolts of dark purple energy surge forth, tearing through the darkness with immense force. The dark energy impacts its unseen target, generating violent purple sparks upon contact. Multiple projectiles of dark magic strike the monster, forcing it to recoil as Eleanor remains trapped in its grip. The system announces the activation of Deadly Claw as a potent purple energy claw erupts with devastating force. The monster takes another direct hit, engulfed in a violent purple explosion as Eleanor is finally released from its grasp, plummeting downwards. The monster crashes to the ground, its form lifeless and defeated, its long tongue still lolling out. Eleanor, relieved, thanks Kurobane Run, calling him Leon-sama, for saving her. Kurobane Run, holding her gently, expresses his relief that she is safe. Eleanor, still recovering, marvels at the incredible speed with which Kurobane Ren unleashed his magic, admitting she thought her end was near. Kurobane Ren casually explains that frequent ambushes in the depths of hell honed his reflexes, allowing him to instinctively react to them almost instantly. Eleanor giggles softly, affirming her admiration for Kurobane Ren, as expected of Leon-sama. Eleanor congratulates Kurobane Ren, calling him Leon-sama, on a job well done. Kurobane Ren agrees, expressing satisfaction that they stopped the threat before it could cause any damage. Kurobane Ren, his expression hardening, senses something lingering, indicating the situation might not be fully resolved. Two razor-sharp golden projectiles streak through the air with incredible velocity. Kurobane Ren deftly evades the incoming attack, sliding backward as golden projectiles impact the ground, sending debris flying. Kurobane Ren's eyes glow with fierce purple intensity, his face set in a grim, determined expression. Kurobane Ren narrows his eyes, his voice a low growl, as he finally locates his unseen assailant. High above, a cloaked figure stands silhouetted against the night sky, observing from the rooftop of a towering building. The mysterious figure lets out a soft breath, internally pondering if Kurobane Ren managed to sense their presence. With a cold gaze, the masked figure anticipates the challenge, declaring this hunt to be a promising one. The screen displays a chapter title card announcing New Chapter. The Underworld Transcendent is unrivaled at the school. For Asmodeus, Chapter 10. Kurobane Ren instructs Eleanor, calling her Luna, to find cover, acknowledging that their new opponent appears to be quite skilled. Eleanor, though hesitant, quickly agrees. The young man immediately confronts the masked assailant, demanding to know their identity and the reason for the sudden attack. Who are you? Why have you attacked me? He questions. The masked assailant responds with a dismissive grunt, refusing to answer the questions. I have no reason to answer you, he declares, his form wreathed in menacing flames. Instead, the masked assailant unleashes a devastating torrent of crimson flames, engulfing the area with destructive power. But to make up for it, you can have this, he shouts. The youth reacts instantly, his agility allowing him to narrowly evade the explosive fire strikes as they tear through the ground where he stood moments before, an exclamation of surprise escaping him. The masked assailant observes the evasion with a taunting smirk. Nice moves. However, he begins hinting at a more formidable attack. Suddenly, a relentless barrage of colossal fireballs rains down from above, trapping the youth in a deadly inferno as he attempts to navigate the escalating assault. With a predatory glint in his eye, the masked assailant believes he has finally cornered his target. I've got you now, he mutters, ready to deliver a decisive blow. Just as the attack closes in, the youth's expression hardens. He prepares to unleash his own power, channeling his dark magic. A powerful surge of dark purple energy erupts around the youth, propelling him upwards and leaving the masked assailant stunned. What? The attacker exclaims. From his vantage point on the rooftop, the masked assailant watches, his previous confidence replaced by shock at the sudden display of power. With his purple eyes blazing, the young man vows not to let his opponent escape. I won't let you get away, he declares, channeling his power. The youth unleashes a devastating skill that manifests as a colossal purple claw, striking directly at the masked assailant. The attack detonates with immense force, a blinding explosion of purple energy erupting at the point of impact and shaking the structure of the building. The masked assailant recoils, clutching his side as blood erupts from a wound, a pained gasp escaping his lips. Ku! He cries out. Severely wounded, the masked assailant executes a hasty retreat, disappearing in a blur of motion and a trail of white smoke. The youth watches the dissipating smoke trails, confirming the assailant's escape. He ran away, he states, a hint of frustration in his expression. His companion, floating anxiously beside him, immediately asks if he's all right. Are you all right? She queries, to which he calmly reassures her, yeah. From a high vantage point, the city lights below highlight the youth and his companion as small figures, the lingering magical residue in the sky a stark reminder of the recent battle. Later, back indoors, the companion ponders the identity of their mysterious attacker. Who was that person who attacked us just now? She asks, but the youth cautions it's too early to tell. Deep in thought, the young man acknowledges that despite the unanswered questions, they gained valuable intelligence. At least we managed to confirm their movements, he notes. His eyes narrow with a sharp realization. There's a chance he's connected to someone here, too, he deduces, a dangerous glint in his purple gaze. With unwavering resolve, he vows to track down his attacker. I'll catch you next time. I swear that I'll wring every last bit of information out of you, he declares. The scene shifts to the bright setting of a classroom, with the youth looking out the window, his thoughts still on the previous night's encounter. His sharp purple eyes observe something with quiet intensity, his silent contemplation hinting at an underlying awareness of his surroundings. As the young man walks through the school hallway, he turns, alerted by someone calling out from behind. "Excuse me," a voice calls. An enthusiastic student approaches him. "Having heard rumors of his incredible feat, I've heard about you. They say you were able to close a high-level gate by yourself," he states. The student continues, mentioning that the headmaster was incredulous about the achievement, refusing to believe it was possible. The headmaster, though, wouldn't believe it happened at all. His expression turns serious as he confidently states his belief. "But I believe you. I saw how you fought during the mock battle the other day, you see." Warm, knowing smile spreads across the student's face, conveying genuine admiration and trust in the youth's power. Placing a hand on the young man's shoulder, the student expresses his anticipation for future endeavors. "I'll be looking forward to how you perform in the future as well," he says, to which the youth offers a brief "thank you." As the young man walks away, the student's friendly demeanor drops, revealing a calculating smirk and eyes that glow with a sinister purple hue. Meanwhile, the masked assailant observes from a distance, noting the formation of a green gate on the city street. "So he's entering a gate today, too," he mutters, tracking his target. With a vengeful glare, the masked assailant vows retribution for his injury. "I'm going to pay you back for that wound you gave me," he declares, recalling the injury. He stands resolute on a rooftop, acknowledging his previous lapse in caution. "I let my guard down yesterday, but I won't make the same mistake twice," he states. He holds up a communication device, emphasizing his preparedness. "Especially with this," he adds, indicating he will ensure no missteps occur. A vibrant green magical energy expands, forming a protective or containing barrier around the area, indicating the start of a new phase. The young man finds himself suddenly enveloped by the mysterious green energy, his expression one of surprise as he realizes he has walked into an unforeseen trap. Masked figure, his eyes wide with disbelief, watches as the youth appears outside, wondering how he cleared the gate in such a short time. A gloved hand grips a walkie-talkie as a stern command is issued. The youth, now free from the energy trap, moves with blinding speed, leaving a trail of light as he evades the initial assault. The masked assailant retaliates, igniting his hand with fierce flames to prepare a counterattack. Colossal explosion erupts as energy and fire collide with destructive force. The masked figure laughs, his smile widening with disappointment. The masked figure speaks into his comms, but is interrupted by a panicked voice. A desperate scream is heard over the comms, leaving the masked figure bewildered. The masked figure stares out the window at the city below, looking uneasy. He looks on in disbelief, wondering how the youth survived the explosion. He attempts to calm himself, assuming his hiding place is still unknown. Suddenly, the youth appears in the distance, glowing faintly. The masked figure is visibly shocked by his arrival. The youth's sharp eyes fix on his target as he reveals his presence. He explains that he had the area investigated, while his tiny familiar confirms his words. With a surge of energy, the youth prepares for a direct assault with swift movements. The masked assailant is struck by energy, causing his cloak and mask to tear away. The youth grabs the unmasked man by the head. The man snarls, demanding to know how he was discovered. Youth calmly explains his deduction regarding the man's actions during recent classes. He mentions an injury sustained during their first encounter as the likely cause. He adds that he had investigated the man's background. The youth notes that the magic used previously was the man's specialty, causing him visible frustration. The youth finally speaks the man's full name. With intense, glowing eyes, the youth challenges the man's resolve. The man is left speechless as the youth demands an explanation for the attack. A sinister smile spreads across the man's face as he begins to laugh. Man erupts into maniacal laughter and mockingly praises the youth for uncovering his identity. His eye glints with malice as he continues to speak. The man floats amidst a torrent of fire, sneering at the student. The power of the magic engulfs the surrounding buildings in a fiery inferno. The man lets out a low, menacing chuckle. Man boasts about his power and his past victories, mocking the youth. The fire magic swirls around the youth, threatening to consume him. The youth remains resolute as an aura begins to emanate from him. The youth retorts confidently, showing no fear of the magic. The youth raises his hand, manifesting a sphere of fire that mirrors the man's own. The man's eyes widen in utter shock at the display of power. The youth, his eyes obscured by shadow, unleashes his own fire magic. Two powerful bursts of fire magic clash violently, creating a massive explosion. The antagonist reels back, his face contorted in disbelief as he exclaims that such high-tier fire magic should be impossible. The young man's lips curl slightly as he calmly states that what he just unleashed was merely intermediate magic. A bead of sweat drips down the antagonist's face as his eyes widen in shock, unable to comprehend the massive disparity in power. Enraged, the antagonist screams at the young man, demanding he stop spouting such nonsense. The young man stands amidst a swirling dark aura, his gaze fixed on the antagonist as he coolly asks if he was the one responsible for killing so many monsters. With glowing purple eyes, the young man declares his presence, revealing he has personally slain far more monsters than that. Young man's hand flashes with dark purple energy as he seizes the antagonist by the throat, his grip tightening as fear contorts the man's face. The antagonist is lifted effortlessly into the air, his body writhing as the young man's dark mana engulfs him. As the purple aura intensifies, the antagonist wonders what kind of terrifying magic this is, sensing something profound and dangerous. Guttural cry of pain escapes the antagonist's lips as the dark energy courses through him. Paralyzed by the overwhelming power, the antagonist realizes his body has completely ceased to obey him. A woman praises the young man, but he calmly replies that there is still one more task to complete. The young man kneels, firmly gripping the antagonist's chin and forcing him to meet his gaze as the man groans in pain. With piercing purple eyes, the young man directly questions the antagonist, demanding to know if his superior was the one who gave the orders. The antagonist hesitates, his eyes darting away, prompting the young man to take his silence as confirmation. The antagonist frantically confesses that he was merely following instructions, ordered to eliminate anyone attempting to close the gates. The young man's eyes narrow as he processes the information, realizing that those attempting to close the gates are seen as obstacles by the enemy. The young man sits, deep in thought, concluding that the mastermind is indeed aligned with the enemy, yet remains perplexed as to why he would establish an institution to train wizards. He acknowledges that regardless of the mastermind's motives, the man is undeniably a pivotal figure in this unfolding conspiracy. The young man's purple eye gleams with sharp resolve as his plan solidifies in his mind. The antagonist realizes that even if he were to expose his accomplice, the superior would simply feign ignorance, making any confession useless. A man, bound and defeated, sits slumped against a wall as the rain outside mirrors the grim atmosphere. Standing in the rain, the young man muses that this turn of events should force the mastermind to act more recklessly in his next move. His foot steps into a puddle, creating ripples as he affirms that this is precisely the outcome he desires. The young man walks away, his silhouette reflected in the rain-slicked ground as he disappears into the downpour. A sleek, dark car approaches and stops before grand, ornate gates, illuminated by its headlights in the pouring rain. Lightning flashes across the stormy sky, revealing a formidable mansion shrouded in heavy rain, its imposing presence dominating the scene. A hand adorned with a distinctive ring reaches out to a heavy door knocker as a voice announces, "It's me." Man steps into a long, dimly lit hallway, immediately sensing the oppressive atmosphere within. He pauses at the entrance, observing the room before him. A grimace crosses his face as he admits to himself that he can never truly grow accustomed to this unsettling environment. He raises his hand and knocks firmly on the door. Stepping through the doorway, the man offers a polite apology as he enters. A figure, with their back to the room, sips from a glass of red wine and begins to speak. The man finishes his report, summarizing the current situation, as the figure in the chair offers a simple acknowledgement. "Good work." The superior inquires if there are any further developments, prompting the man to consider his response more carefully. The superior reveals a new point of interest, stating there is something he is curious about. The official, clearly troubled, reports on a student who has undergone a dramatic, inexplicable transformation, as if he had become a different person entirely. He adds that the student now wields multiple distinct magical attributes, manifesting as fire, ice, earth, and wind. The superior lets out a slow, intrigued breath, processing the astonishing information. However, the official assures him there is no cause for concern, as he has already dispatched an assassin to eliminate the unpredictable student. The superior's hand suddenly descends, cutting off the official mid-sentence and stating a desire to hear more of that story. The official reacts with a startled, "Huh?" Gazing out at the rain-streaked night, the superior muses on the peculiar case of a student once deemed the weakest, now exhibiting overwhelming talent. He then questions the logic, pointing out that if that really is the case, wouldn't the student become an unpredictable factor? The official dismisses the concern, confidently asserting that the dispatched assassin should have already taken care of the student by now. The superior turns, their face obscured by shadow save for a single, piercing green eye, and calmly retorts, questioning the certainty of the assassin's success. The superior's words land like a blow. If the mission was successful, then isn't it strange the assassin has yet to contact them? The official's face contorts in shock. Wave of dread washes over the official as he frantically reaches for his phone, whispering, "It can't be." The scene shifts to reveal the assassin, bound and defeated, slumped against a wall as rain pours outside, a stark testament to their failure. The assassin's phone, still in their pocket, vibrates with an incoming call from the official, a stark reminder of the unanswered contact. The official's face is etched with despair as his call fails to connect. A chilling thought crosses his mind. Could the student have managed to overcome the threat? The superior confirms the obvious, stating, "It appears that they've failed." The official can only stand in stunned silence. Frustration boils over as the official admits he never expected the student to defeat the assassin too. Desperate, he wonders what else he can do. The superior's lips curl into a faint, sinister smile, hinting that there is still a perfectly usable method left. If the student truly is such an amazing wizard, the superior begins, a new strategy comes into focus. With a chilling casualness, the superior opens the ornate box, revealing a book, and declares that they simply need to use the other students as bait. The official's face twists into a wide, predatory grin, eagerly asking if he has permission. The official bows in assent, ready to execute the new, heinous directive. The superior, holding a sparkling ring, acknowledges that while it might be a bit early, the experiment must now advance to its next phase. The official's lips curl into a silent, sinister smile, fully embracing the dark path ahead. "Please leave it to me," the official confidently declares, reminding the superior that this is precisely why they've assembled so many powerful wizards. Superior settles back into their chair by the crackling fireplace, a sinister now then, hanging in the air. Surrounded by an aura of intense magic, the superior smiles, declaring that things are about to get very interesting indeed. From the room, an unseen voice remarks on the superior's unusually good mood. The superior's smile widens as they reveal the reason for their elation. The time has finally come to unveil their mysterious plan. The superior remains seated, a lone, ominous figure bathed in the red glow of the fireplace, as their dark plans begin to unfold. The official, now seated across from the student, surprisingly offers an apology, admitting a grave misjudgment in his previous assessment of the young wizard. He humbly requests forgiveness for all the rudeness he has shown the student, who listens with a stoic expression, betraying no emotion. The official explains his sudden change of heart, claiming it stems from his belief that those who excel must be given their rightful place. He then reminds the student of the escalating crisis, the increasingly frequent appearance of dangerous gates. He then formally requests the student to accompany the president in the dangerous task of closing off the proliferating gates. The student confirms his understanding, acknowledging that this mission will involve patrolling areas where gates have been appearing frequently. He calmly states, "Understood." The official, a sly smirk playing on his lips, expresses his satisfaction at the student's easy comprehension, stating, "It's great that you understand so easily. I'll be counting on you." The student firmly shakes the official's hand, accepting the daunting task with a resolute yes. "Please leave it to me." The student's eye glows with a sharp, perceptive intensity as he internally deduces the official's hidden agenda, deciding to play along for now. Curabane Run, his hand enveloped in a faint purple aura, meets the official's grasp, a silent declaration echoing in his mind. "I have a plan too, you see." The subtle exchange of power crackles between their hands, a silent pact forged in the shadows of their unspoken intentions. High above, under a clear blue sky, a chilling realization settles. "A trap, you say?" Curabane Ren confirms the grim assessment with a curt "yeah." Amain Naruse reveals the shocking truth, explaining that the trap concerns her previous investigation. "Shido was the one who ordered Hashiba to attack me." Curabane Rin observes, "I don't know if he thinks I haven't found out yet, but it's plain to see that Shido is against me." Amain Naruse expresses her concern, suggesting, "In that case, you should have refused his request earlier." She quickly corrects herself, acknowledging, "No, it's true that we can't just leave the gates alone." Curabane Rin then confidently declares, "Besides, I have a plan." Amain Naruse, surprised, echoes, "A plan?" Curabane Rin confirms, "Yeah, but this plan only takes myself into account, so I'll be doing the patrol alone and—" Curabane Ren's eye glows with a fierce purple light as a voice interrupts his thoughts. "I'll go too." Amain Naruse firmly declares her intention. "I refuse to turn a blind eye while such a thing is happening in front of me, so I'll be going with you as well, Curabane Kuin." Curabane Ren, after a moment, concedes, "All right." As the day fades and evening arrives, the time for their mission draws near. Curabane Rin announces, "All right, let's start." Amain Naruse responds with a resolute yes. Curabane Rin notes, "Though right now, I don't sense the presence of any gates." Curabane Rin turns to Amain Naruse, asking, "Naruse-san, are you not afraid of the monsters in the gates?" Amain Naruse admits with a soft gaze, "It would be a lie to say that I'm not afraid." She continues, "However, in order to fight against those who threaten this world," Curabane Ren's eye subtly glows, reflecting her conviction. Main Naruse declares with unwavering resolve, "That's why I decided to become a wizard after all." Kurobane Run, recalling his past life, thinks, "She's acting just like I did before I set out on a journey to defeat the Demon King." Kurobane Ren remains silent, lost in thought. Main Naruse looks at Kurobane Ren with a gentle smile, stating, "I know that as long as I'm with you, I'll have the strength to fight." Suddenly, a monstrous gate rips open the fabric of reality, unleashing a torrent of dark energy that pulls Main Naruse uncontrollably towards its depths. Kurobane Ren's eyes widen in shock as the sinister energies engulf the area, a vortex of red and purple mana forming before him. Main Naru's face contorts in terror as the dark forces drag her closer to the swirling abyss, Kurobane Ren watching, helpless for a moment. The oppressive energy of the gate twists around Main Naruse, threatening to tear her apart as she struggles against its overwhelming pull. The vortex of dark magic intensifies, radiating an ominous power that distorts everything around it. Main Naruse lets out a pained cry, "Ku," as the shadowy tendrils of the gate ensnare her completely. Kurobane Ren lunges forward, his voice tearing through the chaotic energy as he shouts, "Naruse-san." The sheer force of the gate's energy pushes Kurobane Ren back, forcing him to shield himself from the overwhelming aura. A desperate thought cuts through the chaos. No, more importantly, Kurobane Ren's fist clenches, radiating a fierce red energy as his resolve solidifies. "I have to save Naruse-san." Unseen by the struggling heroes, the middle-aged antagonist watches the unfolding chaos from a control room surrounded by glowing screens. Sinister chuckle escapes the middle-aged antagonist's lips, "Kukuku," as he subtly displays the rings on his fingers. He gazes at the multiple screens displaying Kurobane Ren, uttering a single, chilling word, "Now." The saga continues with Chapter 13, the Underworld Transcendent, promising new challenges and revelations. A sinister smile creeps across the face of a mysterious woman as she swirls her wine, warning that the Lord of the Gate is a monster that hungers specifically for those with massive mana reserves. Kurobane Ren stands amidst a swirling vortex of dark energy as a chilling challenge is issued. How will he fare against the nightmare that awaits inside? Panicked, Eleanor cries out for Leon-sama to wait, her eyes wide with fear as the dark pressure from the gate begins to mount. She stares at the ominous portal with dread, realizing this gate's power far exceeds a standard category red threat, leaving their fate entirely unknown. Kurobane Ren's gaze sharpens. The fact that this gate appeared exactly where they were assigned to patrol is far too convenient to be a coincidence. He realizes this is a calculated trap set by Shido, a plan meticulously crafted with the sole intention of burying them alive inside. Despite the danger, Kurobane Ren clenches his fist, his resolve hardening as he prepares to dive into the trap head-on. Eleanor reaches out, her voice trembling as she calls his name once more, desperate to stop him from taking such a reckless risk. Suddenly, a swarm of red dragons erupts from the gate, and Kurobane Ren realizes he can't leave these beasts to roam free while he moves forward. Blinding flash of golden lightning tears through the air, signaling the arrival of a powerful intervention just as the dragons close in. The lightning strikes with surgical precision, pinning the winged monsters mid-flight and halting their advance in an explosion of sparks. Kurobane Ren watches as the monsters are grounded by the sudden, overwhelming display of elemental power. A student officer with glasses stands firm, his blade crackling with electric energy as he stares down the remaining threats. He demands an immediate report from Kurobane Ren, his voice sharp and authoritative as he tries to grasp the chaos unfolding. Shock washes over the officer as he learns the truth. President Izumiya has already been pulled deep inside the gate. The dragons continue to pour out in endless waves, and they realize they must clear the entrance before the situation becomes unsalvageable. Kurobane Ren steps forward, insisting that he will handle the monsters here while the others focus on the rescue mission. Recognizing the weight of Ren's resolve, the officer offers a brief, respectful word of thanks as they prepare to split up. Without a second's delay, Kurobane Ren charges toward the swirling red abyss, leaving the front line behind. The officer watches him go, admitting that Kurobane Ren is the only one truly suited to rescue the president from such a hellish place. It's a frustrating reality, but he acknowledges his own limits and places the fate of their leader in Ren's hands. Turning back to the swarm, the officer ignites his blade once more, declaring himself the opponent for every monster that dares to cross the threshold. Ran and Eleanor emerge into a desolate underworld, a landscape of floating ruins and suffocating darkness that stretches as far as the eye can see. Ren urges Eleanor to pick up the pace. Every second they spend in this realm is another second the president remains in mortal peril. A colossal red dragon descends through the murky clouds, its scales shimmering with a lethal, predatory heat. Ren notes with a grim expression that even the common sentries here are equivalent to boss-level monsters in any other gate. He extends his hand, activating dark attribute magic as purple flames begin to dance around his fingers with malevolent intent. He summons the Calamity Scythe, Enticer to the Underworld, a massive weapon of pure destructive energy that hums with the power of the abyss. The cold, murderous glare, Ren commands the beast to move out of his way or face immediate extinction. The scythe swings in a massive arc, a crescent of purple light cleaving through the air and the dragon's reinforced hides simultaneously. Blood sprays across the desolate ground as the dragon's massive limbs are severed in a single, effortless motion. The massive creature crashes into the rocky earth, defeated before it could even let out a final roar of defiance. Ren doesn't even look back at the carnage, stating coldly that he has no time to waste on the likes of these creatures. He raises his scythe again, his eyes glowing with a terrifying intensity as he demands that all monsters make way for his passage. Far away, the middle-aged antagonist watches the slaughter on his monitors, surprised that the initial trap wasn't enough to capture Kurobane Rin. He sneers with a villainous grin, convinced that Ren is an idiot who has done nothing but jump straight to his own death. Ren and Eleanor finally reach the deepest part of the underworld, where the shadows grow long and the air thickens with ancient, dormant power. Eleanor asks if he's holding up under the strain, but Ren simply brushes off the concern, focused entirely on the battle that lies ahead. Kurobane Rin scoffs at the notion of pressure, his eyes narrowing with a cold, experienced confidence as he reminds Eleanor that if this is supposed to be combat under extreme conditions, he'll be just fine. Having survived the literal depths of hell in his past life, a situation like this is nothing more than another Tuesday. Eleanor offers a small, supportive smile, acknowledging his unmatched experience before refocusing on the immediate objective. They have to save Izumiya immediately. The sharp nod, Kurobane Rin confirms the plan, his gaze fixed on the path ahead as the environment begins to crumble under the weight of an approaching presence. Meanwhile, Izumiya is in a desperate struggle, her breath hitching as a cold, slimy sensation constricts around her throat. Confusion turns to terror as Izumiya realizes she's been completely ensnared by massive, glowing tentacles that have appeared out of thin air. The source of the nightmare reveals itself, a colossal, grotesque monster looming over her, its gaze fixed on its captive prey with a predatory hunger. She grunts in pain, pulling against the purple appendages, but the grip is absolute. She's trapped in a vice that refuses to yield. A sickening realization washes over her as she feels her very essence being siphoned away, her mana draining into the monster's pulsating limbs. Looking at the beast, Izumiya's mind races with dread. If a creature this powerful were to reach the outside world, the casualties would be catastrophic. Even in her weakened state, her thoughts drift to her ally, wondering if Kurobane Rin managed to escape the chaos safely. She quickly dismisses the doubt with a faint, knowing smile. She knows Kurobane Rin isn't the type of man to run away when things get difficult. Spurred by his resolve, Izumiya refuses to give up, focusing her remaining strength into her hand to manifest a counterattack. But the sparks of fire fizzle out almost instantly, leaving her hand empty as the monster continues its relentless feast. Panic sets in as her magic fails to activate, her eyes widening in shock as her primary means of defense is rendered useless. She stares into the gaping, tooth-filled maw of the beast, realizing with horror that it isn't just capturing her, it's actively consuming her mana to empower itself. Izumiya winces, bracing for the end as the monster prepares to strike, its presence overwhelming her senses. Suddenly, a streak of brilliant purple energy tears through the air, severing the monster's tentacles with surgical precision. The beast roars in agony as its limbs are shredded by the sudden, high-velocity assault, the mana-rich blood spraying into the air. A massive wave of purple mana erupts across the battlefield, a signature of power that Izumiya recognizes instantly. The shockwave of the impact clears the area, revealing the sheer scale of the intervention that just saved her life. Kurobane Ren's voice cuts through the chaos, calm and steady as he apologizes for the delay, his presence radiating a lethal intent. Izumiya's relief is palpable, a soft smile returning to her face. Deep down, she knew he would come for her. Standing tall amidst the swirling dark energy, Kurobane Ren prepares for the real fight, his aura flaring as he stares down the monstrosity. In a secure location, the middle-aged antagonist smirks into his phone, confirming that the trap has been sprung exactly as planned. He boasts that the gate has appeared without a single hitch, declaring with cold certainty that this will be the final resting place of Kurobane Rin. The monster looms over Kurobane Rin, its massive eye glowing with a sinister light as it prepares to turn the hero into its next meal. Still trapped but hopeful, Izumiya watches as her savior arrives, her voice a mere whisper as she acknowledges his return. Eleanor hovers near Kurobane Rin, her mana detection skills pinpointing the problem. Those tentacles are actively siphoning Izumiya's life force. Kurobane Rin analyzes the creature, noting its alien physiology. Even with his vast knowledge from another world, he's never seen a horror quite like this. But hesitation isn't an option. He ignites a flame of dark purple mana in his palm, his resolve hardening as he prepares to strike back. The monster retaliates instantly, firing a concentrated beam of destructive energy that Kurobane barely manages to evade. The beam carves a path of destruction through the earth, missing the hero by a hair's breadth as he maneuvers through the debris. Kurobane looks back at the scorched earth, a bead of sweat rolling down his face as he realizes the sheer lethality of the monster's output. The ground itself is obliterated where the beam struck. One direct hit from that thing, and the battle would be over instantly. Deciding on a direct approach, Kurobane charges forward, activating his dark attribute magic to land a finishing blow at the monster's core. The monster shifts its massive bulk, its eye tracking his every movement as he closes the distance with blinding speed. He unleashes his skill, Deadly Claw. A massive explosion of dark energy erupts, tearing into the creature's side with devastating force. Eleanor cheers, thinking the battle is won, but Kurobane's expression remains grim. He knows better than to celebrate too early. As the smoke clears, the horrifying truth is revealed. Despite the massive damage to its limbs, the monster's main body remains completely unharmed, its giant eye staring back at them, unfazed. Unfazed by the previous assault, the colossal monster lets out a guttural, earth-shattering roar, its massive eye burning with malevolent intent. Perched on a precarious ledge above the monster's writhing form, Kurobane observes the creature, a faint purple aura flickering around his hand. Suddenly, Kurobane's eyes widen in alarm as he questions what is happening, sensing a new, immediate threat. From directly behind him, a grotesque, worm-like tentacle with a gaping maw lunges as Eleanor's frantic warning echoes, "Behind you!" Kurobane reacts with blistering speed, a blur of motion as he narrowly evades the crushing strike, the ground beneath him shattering from the impact. "Sharp coup!" escapes Kurobane's lips, a thin scratch now visible on his cheek, marking the near miss. Eleanor calls out to Kurobane, her voice laced with worry, but he quickly reassures her that he is alright, confirming it wasn't a direct hit. Despite his words, Kurobane clenches his jaw, admitting this monster is a pain to deal with as he struggles to read its attack patterns. Another massive tentacle erupts from the earth, glowing with ominous purple energy, resuming its relentless assault. Kurobane's eyes narrow, a frustrated teach escaping his lips as he prepares for the next wave. He continues his desperate dance of evasion, a streak of blue and purple energy marking his rapid movements as he dodges another powerful tentacle swing. Looking up, Kurobane challenges the monster as three smaller, yet equally menacing, worm-like tentacles emerge, asking, "Coming at me again, huh?" He is forced to contend with multiple threats simultaneously, weaving through a barrage of attacks with incredible agility, purple energy streaks following his every move. Eleanor expresses her deep concern for Kurobane, noting his non-stop battle since entering the gate and fearing his mana reserves must be dangerously low. Her concern deepens as she observes Izumiya, bound tightly by the monster's tentacles, realizing she doesn't have much time left. Eleanor analyzes the dire situation, understanding that if Kurobane attempts to approach the main body, he would become a perfect target for the monster's numerous tentacles. Despite the grim assessment, Kurobane's expression hardens with resolve as he confidently declares, "There's no problem." With a surge of power, Kurobane unleashes a wide, sweeping attack, a crescent of blue and purple energy carving into the ground as he charges forward. A violent burst of dark purple and black energy erupts, signifying the potent magic at play. Kurobane stands enveloped in a dark purple aura, his eyes glowing with fierce determination as he vows, "I'll get it next time." He launches himself forward, a focused burst of purple mana concentrating in his hands, ready to unleash a devastating blow. Izumiya, still trapped, watches Kurobane advance with growing concern, whispering his name as she notes he's getting closer to the main body. Kurobane pushes through the monstrous tentacles, charging directly towards the colossal eye, his hands glowing with concentrated purple mana. Prepares his next move, channeling his raw power as he activates his dark attribute magic. Unleashing Grim Eater, Kurobane sends out a volley of dark purple energy, tearing through the monster's tentacles to clear his path. He then propels himself along the monster's massive limbs, moving with impossible speed, dodging and deflecting any retaliatory strikes. The monster lets out a pained GGH as Kurobane closes in on its main eye, its massive form writhing from the assault. With unwavering resolve, Kurobane defies the monster, channeling more dark attribute magic as he declares, "Like I'd let you." He unleashes a barrage of potent dark energy orbs, striking the monster with devastating force. Above the monster's core, Kurobane plunges a concentrated blast of purple energy downwards, activating his ultimate skill, Blind Edge. Standing firm on the monster's body, Kurobane observes the cracks forming, the impact of his attack rippling through the colossal creature. His shadow looms over the monster's eye as Kurobane Rin, with a cold, determined gaze, declares, "This is the end." With a final, decisive strike, Kurobane Rin plunges his full power into the monster's eye, a blinding burst of purple energy signifying the finishing blow. The monster lets out a horrifying, drawn-out JHHH as purple energy consumes its body, signaling its final, agonizing moments. A brilliant explosion of white and purple energy engulfs the monster as it finally disintegrates into nothingness. Kurobane Rin stands victorious amidst the dissipating remnants of the monstrous foe. The battle finally concluded. As the monster's hold vanishes, Izumiya begins to fall from the sky, unconscious and vulnerable, surrounded by the fading traces of dark energy. Kurobane Rin, ever vigilant, swiftly moves to catch Izumiya in midair, cradling her safely before she can hit the ground. Lingering wisps of purple and black energy swirl around them, marking the final dissipation of the monster's oppressive aura. Kurobane Rin looks down at the barely conscious Izumiya, gently asking if she is okay, to which she can only manage a weak "ah" in response. She looks up with a faint, relieved smile, her eyes softening as she whispers that she is glad. Weight of the situation settles in her gaze as she realizes he actually came for her, a small spark of hope returning to her weary face. Far from the battlefield, in a cold control room, the man stands frozen as sirens blare and monitors flash red, announcing the impossible. The gate is disappearing. His face contorts in pure disbelief, sweating as he stammers that there is no way the young man could have survived, let alone cleared the gate. His eyes widen in terror at the report, unable to fathom that a mere student could have defeated the gate's guardian. Desperation takes hold as he frantically checks his suit, reminding himself that he still possesses the ring given to him by his benefactor. His hands tremble as he reaches into his vest, searching for the ultimate trump card that will turn the tide back in his favor. He finds it, a ring embedded with a dark, shimmering jewel. A sinister confidence returns to his voice as he prepares to activate its power. With a manic grin, he declares that with this artifact, he can finally eradicate the boy who dared to defy him. His triumph is short-lived as a sudden chill fills the room, causing him to gasp in shock. A vortex of dark magic erupts behind him, tearing through the space of the high-tech facility. The young man emerges from the shadows, his presence suffocating as he activates his power, his voice dripping with cold disdain for the man before him. The man stumbles back, pointing a shaking finger as he demands to know how the young man could possibly be standing here. The young man's eyes glow with a lethal purple light, stating flatly that irredeemable scum like him can never be forgiven. The two stand at opposite ends of the room, the hunter and the prey, as the man continues to stammer in confusion. Calmly, the young man explains that he left a magical mark on the man's body earlier, which served as a beacon for his teleportation magic. The man's mind races, trying to recall when such a trap could have been laid. He flashes back to the moment a strange shadow touched him, realizing too late that his arrogance was his undoing. He grinds his teeth, sweating as he admits he has never heard of magic capable of such a feat. The young man steps forward, declaring that it is now his turn to ask the questions. His gaze pierces through the man, demanding a confession. He was the one who summoned the gate, wasn't he? He points to the machinery behind the desk, stating that hiding the truth is pointless. The equipment proves his involvement. The young man questions the motive behind creating a training institute for mages just to lead them to their deaths. The man lets out a low, dark chuckle, his shadow masking his eyes as his true nature surfaces. He reveals the horrifying truth. The students were never meant to be heroes. They were cultivated simply to be food. A vision of a monstrous red dragon devouring fleeing students appears, a sacrifice meant to appease the beast within the gate. With a twisted sense of pride, he admits to materializing the gate himself, discarding all pretenses. He explains that his goal was to use the resulting chaos to seize both absolute power and political authority. The young man absorbs the confession, his expression turning dangerously neutral as he finally understands the depth of the betrayal. He thinks of the girl, bound and helpless, nearly sacrificed for this man's petty ambitions. Looking up, his eyes are cold as ice, confirming that he now knows exactly what kind of absolute scum he's dealing with. The man merely scoffs, unbothered by the judgment of a boy he intends to kill. Flames erupt around him as he prepares for battle, claiming that once the young man is dead, his secrets will be buried forever. With a roar, he launches a searing fire attack, commanding his opponent to burn. Multiple fireballs streak through the air, converging on the young man with explosive force. The young man doesn't flinch, his energy flaring up in a brilliant purple shield that crackles with defensive energy. The fireballs impact the barrier, erupting in a violent explosion of red and purple, but the young man remains unmoved amidst the chaos. Man stares in absolute disbelief, sweat trickling down his face as his ultimate attack fails to leave a scratch. He watches as the residual mana simply evaporates into the air, unable to comprehend why the magic vanished as soon as it got near the young man. The young man looks back with a gaze as cold as ice, his expression filled with disappointment. His purple eyes flare with a murderous intensity as he silently challenges his opponent to continue for real this time. The man's face contorts with rage, his teeth bared as he snarls at the youth standing before him. He tries to convince himself that the young man is bluffing, believing that despite the display, the boy is already at his physical limit. Mana begins to swirl violently around the man's hands, igniting into a scorching inferno as he prepares a spell to erase his opponent. A massive pillar of fire erupts, illuminating the entire area in a hellish crimson glow as the man pours every ounce of his power into the strike. The maniacal grin, he exerts his power, certain that victory is finally within his grasp. The fireballs streak across the battlefield like falling stars, converging on the young man's position with devastating speed. The young man remains perfectly calm, his hands reaching out as if to catch the very flames intended to consume him. The man's confidence wavers, unable to grasp what the youth is attempting to do. The young man activates his magic, a swirling vortex of purple energy manifesting between his palms. He triggers a defensive skill that creates a shimmering barrier of violet light, catching the incoming fireballs and holding them in suspension. The fireballs are instantly reflected, leaving the man to watch in horror as his own attack turns back toward him. The explosion is massive, engulfing the man in the same flames he summoned as the roar of the blast fills the air. As the smoke clears, the man lies broken on the scorched pavement, the surrounding area littered with embers and shattered debris. He struggles to breathe, coughing violently as he tries to push himself up from the ground in his tattered and burned suit. His eyes bulge in terror, unable to accept that he has been defeated by a mere student. The young man approaches, shrouded in a menacing purple aura, as the man wonders if this is truly the same person he once deemed incompetent. The man looks up into the youth's glowing eyes, his mind reeling with shock. A final act of desperation, the man slams his fist against the ground, his rings glowing with a faint, ominous light. He resolves to summon a gate to escape, his expression betraying the weight of his fear. Suddenly, a bolt of purple energy strikes his hand, shattering the summoning process before it can even begin. The man cries out in pain as the young man looms over him and observes the situation with a calm intensity. The youth realizes the secret behind the man's power, noting how the specific rings grant him the ability to materialize a gate. Terrified, the man begins to beg for his life, pleading for mercy. Young man doesn't hesitate, delivering a bone-shattering punch directly to the man's face that sends a shockwave through the air. The force of the blow sends the man tumbling backward, his body skipping across the ground like a stone. He lies motionless, his consciousness fading as he lets out a final weak groan. The young man grabs the man by his lapels, hoisting him up with effortless strength. With a voice devoid of mercy, the youth makes it clear that scum like him do not deserve forgiveness. The young man tightens his grip, demanding to know the identity of the man's employer and their location. The man's eyes roll back, his body beginning to undergo a strange, glitch-like transformation as if his very existence is being corrupted. His face distorts further, the color draining as his mouth hangs open in a silent cry. A dark, shadowy vapor erupts from his mouth, hinting at the influence of a higher power. The man falls limp, his life extinguished by the very forces he served, leaving the youth standing over the body as the interrogation is cut short. The youth sighs, his eyes narrowing in frustration as he realizes that tracking down the mastermind won't be as easy as he hoped. Far away, in a dimly lit room, a mysterious figure watches from the shadows and notes with chilling calm that a pawn has been removed from the board. The mysterious figure dismisses the current setback, acknowledging a temporary victory for their opponents, but hinting at future plans. Silent, ominous gesture follows as his hand rests calmly, hinting at deeper, unfolding schemes. The mysterious figure, with a chilling gaze out the window, declares with unwavering resolve that this is far from over. A sinister smirk plays on his lips, revealing the depth of his dark intentions. Meanwhile, under a clear sky, Kiribane Ren and Izumiya stand on a rooftop, observing a flag fluttering in the wind. Eleanor, floating beside Kiribane Ren, expresses her surprise, pondering the implications of recent events. Kiribane Ren recounts the aftermath, explaining that Shido, upon waking, had lost all his memories. Main Naruse continues the update, adding that Shido has been taken into custody by the authorities. Eleanor then points out a critical detail. New gates continue to appear elsewhere. Kiribane Ren agrees, speculating about other individuals capable of manifesting them. The middle-aged antagonist, his expression grim, voices his conviction that Shark is undoubtedly implicated in these occurrences. Eleanor reinforces the danger, reminding Kurobane that they cannot afford to lower their guard just yet. With a determined clench of his fist on the railing, Kurobane silently challenges the unseen forces, ready for whatever comes next. A new chapter unfolds, featuring Naru's Kuya, his hands crackling with potent purple energy, poised for action. Elder Chan rests fitfully, a bead of sweat tracing his temple, suggesting a troubled slumber. In a terrifying dream, a monstrous entity roars, proclaiming the end, as Naru's Kuya's mind echoes the name Leon Klein. A sweet memory surfaces. A young girl, clutching her teddy bear, eagerly asks to be taught magic again upon his return. The dream shifts to a scene where Sung Jinwoo, with a deceptive smile, expresses his pleasure in working with Sir Leon, while another voice responds to Prince Shark. A sinister figure, cloaked in shadows and a chilling smile, taunts Leon, revealing that those he held dear are gone, suggesting they can all happily go to heaven together. Kurobane jolts awake in his bed, a cold sweat beading on his forehead, his dream a vivid, disturbing memory. Eleanor floats nearby, observing him. With closed eyes, Kurobane acknowledges the nightmare, muttering a dream. He rises, looking out the window at the same flag from before, his thoughts still lingering on the unsettling visions. Kurobane reflects on Shido's dismissal, but suspects he wasn't acting alone, his gaze sharp as the middle-aged antagonist is led away. His eyes fall upon the flag, a symbol that reminds him of Shark, whom he believes is still lurking nearby. With a silent vow, Kurobane clenches his fist, promising, "Just you wait, Shark." Adjusting his tie, Kurobane resolve hardens. He will catch Shark, no matter the cost. The scene shifts to an expansive view of the academy, bathed in the morning light, signaling a new day. Inside the academy, two male students stand, one with a clenched fist, hinting at underlying tension within the halls. Another student in a red checkered suit is seen from a low angle, seemingly intimidated by a taller figure. Kurobane expression shifts to surprise as he hears mention of the new headmaster. Amain Naruse informs Kurobane that the new headmaster specifically wishes to greet him. Kurobane acknowledges, realizing today marks the arrival of the new leader. Kurobane, deep in thought, expresses his eagerness to learn more about the new headmaster's true character. Kurobane, addressing Amain Naruse as Izumiya-san, asks if she's already acquainted with the new headmaster. Amain Naruse confirms, explaining that due to her family's status, he has treated her well since she was a child. New headmaster, Genis Coleman, stands silhouetted against the bright light, his presence commanding attention. Amain Naruse elaborates on Genis Coleman's background, revealing he's an instructor for an elite organization that brings together only the best wizards. Kurobane deduces that Genis Coleman must be highly skilled, to which Amain Naruse adds that he has a solid record of closing numerous gates. Eleanor states the obvious. All that remains is to meet him in person. Kurobane internally hopes Genis Coleman proves to be a truly capable wizard. Kurobane concludes, deciding he will ascertain Genis Coleman's capabilities once they finally meet. Amain Naruse approaches a door and knocks, with Kurobane standing ready behind her. From behind the door, Amain Naruse's voice politely calls out, "Excuse me." Kurobane is caught off guard by the sudden introduction, a bead of sweat rolling down his cheek. He stammers out a polite response, admitting it's nice to meet the man as well. Man, middle-aged antagonist, flashes a blindingly confident grin and a massive thumbs up. He introduces himself as Genis Coleman, declaring with infectious energy that they should get along. Eleanor floats above, noting how remarkably frank the man is. Kurobane leans toward Amain Naruse, whispering a question about whether the man is always this intense, to which she simply confirms with a tired yes. Middle-aged antagonist gestures broadly, assuming Kurobane has already heard of his reputation through Mikoto-kun. Confirms he's aware the man was sent by a specific organization. With a dramatic point of his finger, middle-aged antagonist reveals he hails from Saber, a prestigious institution dedicated to uniting the world's most powerful wizards. He explains that Saber holds the critical responsibility of managing the gates that have appeared across the globe, acting as specialists who shield humanity from the disasters they spawn. While Academy graduates can join the General Wizards Association, middle-aged antagonist emphasizes that Saber is reserved only for the elite among the elite. He doesn't miss the chance to boast, winking as he claims to be a truly impressive wizard himself, his confidence practically sparkling. Letting out a boisterous laugh, he brags about his high-ranking position within Saber, telling the students they can rely on him for anything they need. Kurobane and Amain Naruse share a skeptical look. Silently notes the man's overwhelming self-confidence, a sentiment Amain Naruse immediately agrees with. Amain Naruse interrupts the boasting, reminding her Uncle Genis that he had a serious matter to discuss with Kurobane. The atmosphere in the room shifts instantly. Middle-aged antagonist turns toward the desk, his playful demeanor replaced by a heavy, professional weight. Reminds them of the grim reality. The world is under the constant, suffocating threat of the gates and the horrors they contain. Kurabain listens in silence, his expression hardening as he acknowledges the truth of the man's words. Middle-aged antagonist admits that Saber is currently facing a severe manpower shortage, which is why they were previously unable to deploy anyone to this specific region. Main Naruse and Kurabain listen as he explains that while gates appeared before, they usually stabilized and closed on their own without major incident. His brow furrows, his gaze turning sharp and dangerous. He warns them that the situation has shifted drastically in just the past few days. The cause of the shift is revealed, the Black Gate, a terrifying structure of dark energy that has disrupted the balance and changed everything. Kurabain realizes the gravity of the situation. He asks if the threat has reached a level that even an organization as powerful as Saber can no longer ignore. Confirming the boy's suspicions, middle-aged antagonist steps forward, his boots clicking against the floor. This crisis is exactly why he has come here personally. Standing tall, he reveals that according to Saber's top brass, the danger level of that Black Gate far exceeds even the most lethal category Red Gates. A vision of a ruined city appears, swarming with red dragons breathing fire. If the monsters inside that gate were to escape, hundreds of thousands of lives would be extinguished in an instant. He explains they must remain on high alert for any other gates appearing, but Saber simply doesn't have the personnel to cover every front. Turning back to face them with total sincerity, middle-aged antagonist makes his request, asking both of them for their help in dealing with the gate's appearance. He looks directly at Kurabain, stating with absolute certainty that the boy possesses the unique skills required to conquer the Black Gate. With a knowing smirk, he mentions that he's already received reports about the two of them successfully exiting that very gate. Further investigations by Saber have led to a shocking conclusion. Even their top-class members would find it nearly impossible to conquer that specific Black Gate. He extends his hand, the gesture carrying the weight of a formal alliance. He asks Kurabain one more time, with the fate of the city hanging in the balance. He implores Kurabain to lend them his power to fight against the existential threat currently looming over their world. Without hesitation, Kurabain reaches out and firmly grasps the man's hand, sealing the pact with a resolute grip. Confident smile plays on Kurabain's lips as he accepts the challenge. Of course, he replies, ready to step into the fray. Amain Naruse looks at her uncle, her expression knowing. She begins to explain that the one who truly conquered the Black Gate was none other than... Suddenly, a Crimson System alert shatters the moment. A Category Red Gate has just manifested in the immediate vicinity of the school. Amain Naruse is visibly shaken by the news, realizing the danger. Middle-aged antagonist, however, remains calm, his mind already calculating the next move. Predatory grin spreads across middle-aged antagonist's face. He calls it perfect timing, viewing this sudden crisis as the ideal opportunity to witness Kurabain's skills firsthand. Amain Naruse warns him not to take a Category Red so lightly, but Kurabain is already mentally prepared. Sure, why not, he says, his eyes glowing with anticipation. Middle-aged antagonist gives them the green light, promising to handle everything outside the gate. He tells them to rampage to their heart's content. The two students stand before the massive, swirling vortex of the Red Gate, the air around it crackling with raw, violent mana. Kurabain leads the way, his expression cold and focused. Stepping into a zone of high-level danger, they show no hint of fear. As they prepare to cross the threshold, a voice calls out from the shadows, mocking their decision to go in as just a duo. The real battle is about to begin. Stepping out from the shadows, the man with the glasses announces that he'll be joining the fray as well, his presence adding a layer of unexpected weight to the mission. The young man looks back, surprised to see his companion here, but the man simply adjusts his spectacles, noting that having more hands on deck is always the better play. Faint, confident smile plays on the young man's lips as he concedes the point. In a place like this, every bit of power counts. With a firm step forward, the young man signals the start. The time for talk is over, the threshold is right before them. Standing before the ominous, glowing crimson archway, the young man declares their intent. The three of them are going to conquer this gate together. The air crackles with latent energy as the team prepares to dive into the unknown, their resolve manifesting as a visible aura of power. They cross into the dungeon, a vast cavern of blue crystals and jagged rock, dominated by the massive red gate they just passed through. The small spirit floats beside the young man, observing that this is his first time clearing a gate with a three-person party. He simply nods, focused on the path ahead. The memory of his instructions lingers. There is a desire to see the true extent of their power as they tackle this high-stakes gate. The young man reflects on his past. Even in his previous life, the core of survival remained the same, strength and strategy. The woman looks on with determination. In this world, trust is the ultimate currency, the force that makes warriors stand side by side in the face of death. The young man knows that working with his companions isn't just a choice, it's a necessity. They are a single unit now, fighting for a common goal. With a surge of adrenaline, the young man commands the charge. It's time to begin the conquest of this nightmare. The trio descends deeper into the crystalline abyss, their silhouettes small against the overwhelming scale of the dungeon's interior. The woman calls out to the young man, her voice echoing against the cold stone as the first signs of the enemy begin to emerge from the darkness. The dungeon's inhabitants reveal themselves, crystal-backed wolves and a towering stone golem, all hungry for the blood of intruders. The young man's eyes narrow with a cold, lethal intent. He gives the order with chilling simplicity, annihilate them all. The woman takes the initiative, her hands glowing with mana as she targets the swift wolf-type monsters first to clear the path. She conjures massive, jagged shards of frozen mana that scream through the air toward the charging pack. The lances find their mark, impaling the crystal wolves with brutal precision, shattering their icy hides upon impact. One beast manages to slip through the barrage, lunging at the woman with its jaws wide. She gasps in shock as the creature closes the gap. The young man moves like a blur, unleashing a flash of energy that cleaves through the wolf before it can even touch her. Leveling his finger like a loaded weapon, the young man channels his mana into a concentrated point, ready to unleash a follow-up strike. He launches himself at the massive stone golem, his small frame a stark contrast to the titan's crushing weight as he delivers a devastating blow. The young man shouts for the team to focus on the golem's eyes. In response, the man with the glasses draws a bow of pure lightning, aiming for the weak point. With a steady hand and a sharp gaze, the man releases the arrow, a streak of golden electricity that tears through the cavern's gloom. Lightning arrow pierces the golem's glowing eye dead center, sending cracks spiderwebbing across its massive stone face. The titan lets out a deafening roar of agony as it collapses, its heavy limbs crumbling into piles of useless rock under the team's coordinated assault. The spirit warns the young man that a swarm of bat-type monsters is descending from the ceiling to surround them. The young man remains unfazed. He tells her not to worry, his eyes glowing with the cold confidence of a man who has faced far worse. He gathers a massive amount of dark mana between his palms, activating a violent surge of energy ready to explode. Blast erupts in a pillar of purple fire, incinerating the bats mid-air and illuminating the entire cavern with its destructive brilliance. Scythes of mana slice through the remaining swarm, leaving nothing but scorched wings and fading echoes of the monster's screeches. The battlefield falls silent as the last of the enemies drop. The threat has been neutralized, at least for now. The spirit cheers, impressed by his performance. The young man takes a heavy breath, the strain of the high-level magic finally catching up to him. The woman bows her head in apology, frustrated that she needed him to cover for her during the initial scramble. Man with the glasses adjusts his spectacles again, admitting that his own reaction time was slower than he would have liked. The gate is proving to be a true test. Kurabainrin offers a rare smirk, acknowledging that their teamwork wasn't half bad. Taking on that many monsters at once was a tall order, but they held their ground. The student with glasses isn't satisfied with praise alone. He turns to Ren, his voice laced with suspicion as he asks about the unusual magic used during the heat of battle. He recalls the sheer power of that attribute, something he had never witnessed before. It didn't look like any ordinary magic found in their textbooks. Seeking confirmation, the student turns to Amain Naruse, wondering if the student council president was already aware of Ren's hidden capabilities. Amain Naruse admits she has seen it multiple times, but her curiosity remains piqued. Even for her, the depth of this power is an enigma. Closing his eyes, Kurabainrin finally provides an answer. He calls it Dark Attribute Magic, a name that carries an ominous weight. Amain Naruse repeats the name under her breath, a cold sweat forming on her brow. The concept of a dark attribute is unheard of in their current world. Ren manifests a swirl of purple mana in his palm, explaining that this magic possesses properties and effects that the standard for elements cannot replicate. The student with glasses is stunned. He realizes that Ren was holding back this trump card even during their intense mock battle. Kurabainrin cuts the conversation short. They have a mission to complete, and the gate's boss is the only priority that matters right now. Amain Naruse watches him, sensing the power and precision in his every move. She can only imagine the grueling training he endured to reach this level. She wonders what could possibly drive Ren to push himself so hard. There must be a secret hidden deep within him that she doesn't know about yet. Looking at him with a mix of admiration and concern, she hopes that one day he will be willing to share the burden of his past. A massive shadow looms over them as the boss finally reveals itself, a colossal crystal dragon, its scales shimmering with a deadly, frozen light. Kurabainrin stands his ground, his eyes narrowing as he confirms the target. This is the beast that stands between them and the exit. Ren recalls fighting these creatures in his old world. Their exterior is notoriously tough, making them a massive pain for any ordinary hunter. He begins barking orders, leaving the tactical support to Amain Naruse and the other student. He knows exactly where the monster is vulnerable. The plan is simple. They need to aim for the dragon's legs from the rear to break its balance and create an opening for a finishing blow. Amain Naruse and her companion respond with a determined shout. They trust Ren's instincts implicitly as they prepare to engage. Ren's foot slams into the ground, propelling him forward with explosive force. He moves with a speed that blurs the vision of those watching. He charges head-on, weaving through the dragon's territory like a phantom. The battle has officially entered its final phase. Supporting magic erupts around him as Amain Naruse and the student unleash a barrage of energy to keep the dragon's attention divided. Massive shards of ice and mana crash against the dragon's hide, slowing its movements just enough for Ren to strike. The dragon roars in frustration, its massive claws swiping at empty air as Ren maneuvers into the perfect position. Ren's hand glows with concentrated, violet mana. He prepares to unleash the true power of his forbidden attribute. Activating his dark attribute magic, the atmosphere grows heavy and cold. The shadows themselves seem to obey his command. He conjures the Calamity Scythe, a massive blade of pure dark energy that hums with the power of destruction. With a devastating arc of purple light, the scythe cleaves through the dragon's legendary defense as if it were made of glass. The crystal dragon shatters into thousands of fragments, its life force extinguished in a single, masterful strike. Amain Naruse and her companion stare in disbelief. The hardened crystal that resisted all their attacks was obliterated in an instant. She is left in awe of the sheer potency of dark attribute magic. Ren stands before the remains of the boss, a true conqueror. As they exit the gate, they are greeted by a man in a vibrant red suit with golden hair, Headmaster Genis. Genis is impressed, noting that they have already conquered the gate. He watched the entire operation with keen interest. Ren greets him formally, but Genis is quick to praise them, stating that their performance far exceeded even his high expectations. Headmaster laughs, pointing out that they even managed to clean up the stray monsters that had slipped outside the perimeter. He is clearly pleased that another talented individual has joined the group, making their team even more formidable. Kurobane Rin confirms the success. The gate is closed, and the immediate threat to the academy has been neutralized. Genis beams with pride, admitting that for a moment he completely forgot they were still just students. Their skill is on par with veteran hunters. Taking advantage of the headmaster's good mood, Rin states that he has a serious proposal to discuss. He believes that dealing with gates will only become more critical in the future. He announces his plan to form a clan and demands the right to clear the gates themselves. Kurobane Rin emphasizes that if the organization known as Saber is currently shorthanded, they should step up. He proposes that they can achieve far more by operating as a unified team. The middle-aged official in the red suit pauses, hand to his chin, deep in thought as he considers Kurobane Ren's proposal. He admits that while there is no precedent for students forming a clan to close gates, this specific trio might actually possess the raw power to do it. With an intrigued look, the official gives his blessing, telling Kurobane Ren to proceed as he sees fit. He even sweetens the deal, promising to use his authority to convert their clan's future achievements directly into their academic grades. Kurobane Ren offers a polite smile, thanking the official for this unprecedented opportunity. Turning back to Amain Naruse and the others, Kurobane Ren declares that this moment marks the official beginning of their clan. Later, the group gathers in a private room, focused on a glowing tablet that holds the key to their first move. Amain Naruse looks down at the tablet, confused by the map and asking Kurobane Ren what exactly she is looking at. Kurobane Ren explains that it's a map showing the locations of all the previous gates he has closed, hoping to find a pattern. His teammates are visibly shaken, struggling to process the fact that Kurobane Ren handled such an incredible number of gates entirely on his own. Amain Naruse recalls the news reports about gates being cleared rapidly, finally realizing that Kurobane Ren was the mysterious force behind it all. His teammate adjusts his glasses, calling the feat impressive but reckless. Even Eleanor agrees. Amain Naruse steps in, reminding Kurobane Ren that since they are now a clan, he no longer has to make any more moves alone. Kurobane Ren closes his eyes for a moment, acknowledging her point with a soft, relieved smile. Eleanor looks up with glowing eyes, her face filled with excitement for the journey ahead with the group. The conversation shifts to the magic essence leaking from the gates, a phenomenon that poses a threat beyond just the monsters. Kurobane Ren reflects on the warnings he received from Luna the moment he arrived in this world regarding this volatile energy. While magic essence can help certain individuals awaken their dormant powers, it remains a double-edged sword. For those without the proper aptitude, the essence acts as a lethal poison, ravaging their bodies from the inside out. Main Naruse warns that an overflow of essence would lead to massive casualties, prompting Kurobane Ren to agree on the need for patrols. He stands firm, resolved to nip the seeds of disaster in the bud before the situation spirals out of control. Night falls over the city, the streetlights casting long shadows as the atmosphere grows heavy with anticipation. The trio sets out into the darkness, Kurobane Ren leading the way as they begin their first official patrol as a clan. Main Naruse remains vigilant, her sharp blue eyes scanning the dark corners of the urban landscape. Suddenly, they spot a group of uniformed individuals, the elite wizards of Saber, patrolling the same area. Kurobane Ren notes that Saber is indeed keeping a much closer watch on this sector, just as the headmaster predicted. His teammate observes the Saber members from a distance, noting that these are clearly the elites of the organization. Kurobane Ren's expression suddenly shifts as he senses a surge of mana nearby. The gate has finally appeared. Nearby, the Saber wizards are alerted as their communication devices begin to buzz with urgent, high-priority reports. A sharp sound cuts through the silence of the night, signaling the arrival of the interdimensional rift. Saber team receives the coordinates. A gate has manifested 5 kilometers to the southwest, and they must hurry. Kurobane Ren and his team lock in, their eyes filled with determination as they prepare to beat the professionals to the scene. Without a second's hesitation, they break into a full sprint, their footsteps echoing through the dark streets. They arrive at a scene of utter devastation, where fire consumes the streets and overturned cars block their path. Main Naruse gasps in horror as she sees civilians still trapped in the immediate vicinity of the glowing red gate. A young child falls to the ground in terror, a woman reaching out desperately as the nightmare unfolds before them. Beast lunges with a guttural roar, its claws ready to tear through the child as the woman's screams are lost in the chaos. Kurobane Ren clenches his fist, the air crackling as he activates dark attribute magic, gathering a sinister purple mana into a concentrated point. With a devastating strike, he unleashes Deadly Claw, a violent burst of energy that shreds the monster's hide and ends the threat in a single, surgical motion. Monster collapses, dead before it hits the ground. Kurobane Ren stands as a silent sentinel, his presence alone enough to calm the frantic survivors. Kneeling beside them, he offers a brief, reassuring nod, telling them he's glad they're all right as the woman stammers out her tearful gratitude. Noticing the elite Saber unit arriving on the scene, Kurobane Ren decides to leave the perimeter to them and head straight for the source of the breach. Without looking back, he begins to walk away, his mind already calculating the risks waiting inside the gate. The city is a nightmare of fire and shadow, dominated by a massive, pulsing red gate that continues to bleed monsters into the streets. On the ground, the situation is falling apart. A frantic officer reports that they've lost all contact with the internal clearing team. Middle-aged official intercepts the group, his face a mask of shock as he demands to know who these students think they are. Kurobane Ren calmly explains they are students from the Sacred Imperial Academy, mobilizing under the direct authorization of Headmaster Genis. He presses the official for information, asking if something has happened to the teams already inside the gate. The official admits the grim truth. A clearing team entered the gate, but their current status is completely unknown. Communicators are still functional, which means the lack of contact is a sign of a catastrophic event occurring within the rift. When asked why a rescue hasn't been launched, the official confesses they are too preoccupied with the endless waves of monsters outside. Their top priority is citizen evacuation, leaving the warriors trapped inside to hope for a miracle they can no longer provide. Kurobane Ren doesn't hesitate, telling the man to keep the outside secure while his team handles the rescue mission inside the gate. The official tries to stop them, shouting that it's far too dangerous for students to enter a Category Red Zone. A sudden, confident laugh interrupts them as a man in a vibrant checkered suit tells the official there's no need to worry. It's Instructor Genis, standing with an air of absolute certainty as he watches his elite students prepare for battle. He assures the skeptical official that these are not just youths, but exceptionally talented wizards capable of handling the impossible. The group enters the gate, immediately finding themselves in a twisted, dark landscape where the very air feels like a physical weight. Main Naruse scans the perimeter, her voice low as she notes the thick fog making it nearly impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. The student in glasses remains stoic, reminding the team that their mission objective remains unchanged despite the environment. They are the Underworld Transcendents, and they are here to prove their unrivaled power in the face of absolute darkness. Pushing through the gloom, they move with a synchronized speed that speaks of countless hours of training. The gravity of the situation is clear. If Saber's elite couldn't handle this, they are walking into a trap of immense proportions. Kurobane Ren warns them that the boss is likely incredibly powerful, but his resolve to rescue the missing remains unshaken. But he won't be carrying this burden alone this time. Amain Naru's eyes glow with a fierce light, her mana flaring as she declares that there is no point in a clan if their leader fights alone. The rest of the team follows suit, vowing to no longer lag behind as they charge into the heart of the nightmare together. Izumiya leaps into the fray, her eyes burning with resolve as she shouts that she'll finally show everyone the true extent of her power. Massive, bioluminescent slime monster looms over the academy grounds, its gelatinous body pulsing with a malevolent glow. The students struggle to maintain their footing, gritting their teeth as they prepare to unleash a coordinated fire attribute assault. Concentrated fireballs streak across the dark sky, aimed directly at the heart of the regenerating beast. The impacts are massive, erupting in a series of violent explosions that illuminate the entire battlefield in a hellish red. Despite the heat, the slime's body begins to shift, its liquid mass hardening into a cage-like structure to trap its prey. The trap is set. The monster's outer shell forms an impenetrable ribcage, sealing the students inside a nightmare of blue slime. Despair washes over the survivors as they realize their strongest spells haven't even left a scratch on the damned monster. One student begs his senior to leave him behind, but the senior snaps back, refusing to let him give up so easily. The slime launches another wave of attacks, its fluid limbs striking with the force of a tidal wave. "Put up a defensive wall," a student screams, slamming his hands into the earth to raise a barrier of solid stone. Blue energy beams pierce through the defense like paper, scattering the students and leaving them vulnerable. With a pained cry, the frontline defender is thrown back, his body battered by the relentless magical pressure. Tears of frustration fall as he blames himself, realizing that everyone is suffering just to protect his weak self. Suddenly, a flash of purple mana cuts through the air, a sharp contrast to the slime's oppressive blue aura. The energy impact is precise, severing the monster's tentacles and creating a momentary opening. Kurobane steps onto the battlefield, his presence immediately shifting the atmosphere as he recognizes the survivors. He kneels beside the injured student, his voice calm as he asks if they are students from the academy. Izumiya quickly identifies the monster's weakness, noting that a slime-type's core is its only vulnerable point. She turns to Naru's Kyuya, her hand engulfed in flames as she signals that it's time for them to take charge. "Let's go," she commands, her blue eyes sharp with a newfound determination to end the fight. With a powerful stomp, she launches herself forward, the ground cracking beneath her feet. Slime reacts with predatory speed, its massive form surging upward to intercept the incoming attack. A sudden warning rings out, catching Izumiya off guard as the monster's movement defies her expectations. A glob of concentrated slime flies through the air, aimed directly at her exposed flank. Izumiya grunts in pain as the impact hits home, the cold liquid mass beginning to envelop her. A student screams for the president, seeing her struggle against the monster's suffocating grip. She falls back, the slime looming over her like a dark wave, ready to consume everything in its path. The beast's shadow stretches across her, its liquid body pulsing with a hunger that knows no bounds. Kurobane narrows his eyes, whispering the incantation for dark attribute magic as purple sparks dance around him. He activates Evil Burst, and a brilliant stream of purple magic explodes, tearing through the night and aiming straight at the enemy. Izumiya looks up in shock, her eyes reflecting the overwhelming power of the dark energy surging past her. The blast hits the slime core with surgical precision, the purple mana eroding its structure in an instant. Multiple spheres of dark energy erupt within the monster, shredding its gelatinous body from the inside out. The core shatters under the pressure, its glow fading as the dark mana consumes the last of its life force. As the smoke clears, the students can only stare in awe at the destruction left in the wake of the dark magic. Naru's Kyuya steps forward, his purple eyes glowing with an intense light as he vows that no one will ever touch his friends again. With a single, fluid motion, he swings his massive scythe, the blade leaving a trail of dark energy in its wake. Standing tall amidst the remains of the defeated beast, Naru's Kyuya looks every bit the transcendental hero he was born to be. Collective gasp ripples through the onlookers as the young man's overwhelming power leaves them utterly speechless. "Amazing," one soldier stammers. The area erupts in cheers. "Whoa!" a soldier shouts as the young man turns his back on his defeated foe. The battle is over. The girl beams with pride, her voice full of admiration. "You did it." Under the cool night sky, the city streets bear the scars of the struggle. The officials acknowledge the pivotal role played by the academy students. A high-ranking official steps forward. "Everyone from the subjugation team returned safely thanks to your help. Please accept my deepest gratitude." The young man remains humble. "We were just doing what we could," he replies, downplaying their heroic efforts. The teacher laughs heartily and turns to the official. "Ha ha ha, like I told you, they're already exceptional wizards." The official nods, a hint of regret in his tone. It's true. I'm ashamed to have underestimated you just because you are students. In a display of respect, the assembled soldiers snap to attention and deliver a crisp salute to the young wizards. A senior officer salutes the students. Young wizards, we extend our deepest thanks. The young man remains calm and composed, accepting the gratitude while the girl beside him smiles gently. The small spirit flutters around him, bubbling with joy. You did it. That was an incredible achievement. The spirit continues. The important thing is that the unit is safe. They're all so grateful to you. She giggles excitedly. They even asked you to join them after you graduate. Talk about being eager. The young man furrows his brow, sensing something unexpected. Oops, the spirit whispers. Purple mana ripples through the air as the young man detects a presence. Who's out at this hour? With a look of surprise, he approaches the door to see who has arrived. He is shocked to find a classmate standing in his doorway. Is that you? Sorry for disturbing you so late, she says. He looks at her with concern. What is it? Did something happen? She hesitates, a bead of sweat on her brow, struggling to find the right words. Gathering her resolve, she finally asks, do you have a moment to talk? The young man thinks to himself, you want me to teach you magic? She bows her head with unwavering determination. Yes. She explains her earnest desire to grow. I can't stay the way I am. I want to change, and I need your help. So it's a serious request, the spirit thinks. The young man processes this and nods. I see. Looks at her distressed expression. She must have felt powerless after what happened earlier today. Today was unavoidable, he reflects, but she doesn't need comfort right now. She needs a way to get stronger. With a decisive nod, he agrees. All right, if you're okay with me teaching you, then I'll do it. A wave of relief washes over her. Thank you so much. That's just like her, he thinks, watching her. She's as straightforward as ever. Under the vast, starry sky, he says, we should start immediately. She nods. I'm in your hands. Suddenly, a new voice interrupts them. Sneaking out with just the two of you is a bit unfair, don't you think? A male student with glasses steps into view. I'd like to join you as well. You want him to teach you too? She asks. The newcomer looks away, flustered. I don't want you getting a head start on us. He's just as eager as she is, the young man thinks. He really wears his heart on his sleeve, the spirit adds. Newcomer clears his throat to hide his embarrassment. Anyway, he stands firm with a look of resolve. Like we said before, we're a team. We can't afford to fall behind. The young man smiles confidently. All right then, let's do this together. Under the glow of a full moon, Kurobane Ren begins to speak his mind, his voice calm but heavy with insight. Standing on the rooftop, Kurobane Ren acknowledges their progress. He admits they've mastered the basics and can even handle advanced magic. But then, his expression shifts. There's a however that hangs in the air, signaling a critique. Kurobane Ren bluntly states that they need to correct their bad habits. Izumiya looks up, confused by the sudden assessment. He points out that Izumiya has a dangerous tendency to charge headlong into battle without thinking of the consequences. The memory of her shouting, I'll make the first move, flashes back, highlighting her reckless nature in the heat of combat. Kurobane Ren explains that hyperfocusing on the attack creates fatal blind spots. Izumiya can only nod as the truth sinks in. Turning to Naruze-Kuya, Kurobane Ren suggests that he needs to start making combat predictions much earlier than he currently does. Naruze-Kuya adjusts his glasses, skeptical. He asks what Kurobane Ren actually means by such a simple-sounding piece of advice. Kurobane Ren emphasizes that the key is preparing for the absolute worst-case scenario at all times. Reminds Naruze-Kuya of the moment he failed to anticipate a monster's counterattack while trying to support Izumiya. Naruze-Kuya admits he was flustered during that battle, realizing his lack of composure cost them dearly. Kurobane Ren notes that school mock battles are too controlled. Real combat is full of variables that require instant adaptation. To fix this, they need to widen their field of vision and get used to the chaos of a real fight, and Kurobane Ren has just the thing. He raises his hand, and a surge of dark, purple mana begins to swirl around him, crackling with intensity. With a sudden burst of power, a ferocious shadow wolf erupts from the ground, snarling at the two students. Kurobane Ren reassures them it's just a shadow recreation, but they must dodge its attacks while simultaneously firing their magic. Izumiya and Naruze-Kuya lock eyes, their determination renewed. It's time to put his words into practice. The shadow wolf lunges with terrifying speed, forcing the two to leap into action as the real training begins. Magic circles flare as they weave through the wolf's relentless strikes, pushing their physical and mental limits. After an intense session, Naruze-Kuya calls for a brief break, his breath coming in heavy rags. Kurobane Ren approaches, but Naruze-Kuya puts on a tough front, claiming this level of training is no problem at all. Rin watches Izumiya continue to push herself in the background. He can feel the sheer weight of their resolve. Kuya mentions that Izumiya's drive comes from her position as the student council president. He explains that the Izumiya family is a prestigious lineage known for producing the world's most elite wizards. Her family is constantly on the front lines, battling the monsters that emerge from the gates to protect humanity. Because they are always in the vanguard, Izumiya feels an immense sense of responsibility to live up to her name. Her reason for becoming a wizard was simple: to be the shield that stands against those who threaten the world. Rin finally understands the source of her intensity. It isn't just ambition, it's a burden. Kuya adds that supporting someone with such a heavy burden hasn't been easy for him either. That's why he made the decision to become stronger himself, to be someone who can actually stand by her side. He offers a rare apology for his behavior during the mock battle, but makes it clear he still intends to surpass Rin. Rin chuckles internally at the boy's stubbornness, but respects the fire in his eyes. With the air cleared, they prepare to dive back into the grind. The night is still young. High above in a skyscraper, a man in an orange suit watches the distant flashes of magic, a cold, calculating smile on his face. 1 month passes. The training has transformed them, and now they face a real threat in the field. A massive, armored orc titan looms over them, its presence radiating pure, crushing malice. Rin takes command, ordering the two to focus on the main body while he prepares a finishing blow. The titan swings its massive club, but the students move with a synchronization they never had before. Rin leaps high into the air, his scythe glowing with a lethal purple aura as he prepares to harvest his foe. A young warrior descends like a reaper, his scythe carving a trail of lethal purple energy through the air during a high-velocity strike. The impact is absolute. With a single, fluid motion, the massive stone guardian's arms are severed, its heavy limbs crumbling into dust. Beast remains active as a surge of volatile green energy erupts from its stumps, signaling a forced regeneration for a counterattack. The monster's hand reforms in seconds, pulsing with a toxic glow, continuing a relentless cycle of destruction and rebirth. The Guardian slams its massive fist down with enough force to shatter the earth, but the team leaps into the clear with perfected reflexes. Coordinating their mana, the support mages take their positions to assist the lead attacker. Executing simultaneous elemental spells, they unleash a dual attribute barrage designed to stun and pierce the golem's defenses. The spells collide with the monster's torso, freezing its joints and shocking its core until its movements become sluggish. Taking advantage of the opening, a concentrated beam of pure magical energy lances through the creature's chest, bypassing its armor. The Guardian lets out a final roar as its core is vaporized, its massive form finally collapsing under the weight of the combined attack. As the dust settles, the warrior stands with his comrades, having survived another gate through their improved synergy. From a secure, dimly lit location, a man watches the footage with a cold, calculating smile, acknowledging the group's success. He observes the rise of these young wizards who have been closing gates, noting that the world always seems to demand a savior. His gaze narrows as he contemplates the shifting power balance, his expression carrying an unspoken threat. Standing amidst a field of blood-red flowers, the man embodies a looming shadow over the Academy's newfound peace. His interest is now firmly fixed on the youth at the center of the events, looking forward to a future encounter. Back at the Academy, news of the latest victory spreads quickly, and students scramble to read the latest reports. The cafeteria is buzzing with excitement as the young warrior's reputation is transformed by his recent feats. Students excitedly share rumors about their classmates conquering gates and forming their own group. One student is shocked to hear that even elite groups have given the team a high evaluation, noting their rising reputation. The student points to the paper, highlighting the most shocking detail regarding the individuals involved in the raid. The student laughs while teasing a despondent classmate about a previous defeat in a mock battle. The defeated student mutters in embarrassment, acknowledging that the loss was unavoidable given the opponent's strength. He flashes back to the moment of his defeat, remembering the warrior standing over him with cold, purple eyes. The conversation continues with revelations that even the school's top student leaders are now training under the warrior's guidance. The reality sinks in that the young man has become an existence that others can now only hope to emulate. Suddenly, the room goes quiet as the cafeteria doors swing open. The young warrior enters, flanked by his teammates, as the weight of their recent achievements shifts the atmosphere of the room. One of his companions comments on the sheer amount of attention they are garnering, seeing it as a sign of their success. A nervous female student approaches the warrior, her hands trembling as she calls out to him, catching him off guard. She explains that she wanted to offer her thanks, leaving the warrior looking confused by the unexpected gratitude. She describes how her family was saved because of the swift action taken by his team near a recent gate. With a deep, sincere bow, she offers her heartfelt thanks, viewing the young man as a hero. The warrior's eyes widen as he realizes the weight of her words, understanding that his power is meant for the protection of others. The echoes of a past life linger like autumn leaves. A woman from a forgotten era calls out to the legendary hero, Leon. Children once admired him, calling him their big brother, a memory of a time when his burdens were shared with those he loved. Even kings bowed in his presence, hailing the man who stood as the world's ultimate shield. Back in the present, Kurobane offers a faint, knowing smile, acknowledging that he is destined to walk the hero's path once more. In the academy halls, his reputation precedes him. Students whisper that he has already become a living legend among them. The gossip spreads like wildfire, noting how even those at the bottom of the rankings can undergo a total transformation. However, not everyone is pleased with his sudden rise. Cold eyes watch him from the shadows of the corridor. A frustrated rival student scoffs, unable to hide his annoyance at the attention Kurobane is receiving. Amain Naruse and Izumiya walk together, relieved to be finished with their duties, though a new summons awaits. Kurobane confirms that the headmaster has called for them, though the purpose of the meeting remains a mystery. Eleanor floats nearby, her curiosity piqued as she wonders what kind of news awaits them in the headmaster's office. They enter the spacious office where a man in a vibrant suit waits by the window, apologizing for the sudden summons. With a boisterous laugh, the official praises the trio for the incredible work they've done in the field. He notes that the growth of Izumiya and Naruse has been splendid, reaching the ears of the high-level administration. Amain Naruse humbly deflects the praise, attributing their progress to Kurobane-ren's rigorous training. The official turns the conversation to a new request, asking Amain to accompany him on a specific mission. Amain asks about their destination while the official searches through his desk for something important. With a confident wink and car keys in hand, he reveals their destination, the Saber Branch. The mention of Saber's vice branch chief sends a ripple of surprise through the group as they head toward the facility. Behind the wheel, the official explains that the vice branch chief personally requested to meet with them. Izumiya asks Amain if she knows this official, sensing the heavy weight behind the name. The man is Nihama Reiji, a rising star and a promising talent even among Saber's elite ranks. He was the school's first student council president, a wizard whose skills were feared even during his academy days. Reiji's record is flawless. He has remained undefeated in every mock battle he ever participated in. Since joining Saber, he has personally overseen the closing of numerous high-level gates, solidifying his status as a top-tier combatant. Amain wonders why such a high-ranking official wants to meet students, but the man only laughs, telling her to look forward to it. Kurobane remains silent, his eyes reflecting deep curiosity about the kind of man Nihama Reiji truly is. The car arrives at the grand estate of Saber's 7th branch, a place where power and politics intertwine. The group walks toward the imposing mansion, the air growing heavy with the presence of high-level mana signatures. They reach the designated room, and the official announces their arrival as the doors swing open. Inside, Nihama Reiji sits casually on a leather sofa, his back turned as he acknowledges their presence. He turns with a sharp, arrogant smirk, welcoming the students who have been causing such a stir in the rumors. Reiji explains that he heard about a student clan closing gates and felt he absolutely had to see them in person. He steps forward, his every movement radiating an overwhelming sense of self-importance and power. Reiji asks if they aren't happy to meet him, while Kurobane can only manage a strained, polite laugh in response. Eleanor whispers to Ron that this man seems incredibly arrogant, a sentiment Ron silently agrees with. Reiji extends a hand to Kurobane, his eyes narrowing as he greets the boy who has been making waves. As their hands meet, a spark of tension ignites between them, a silent challenge issued through a simple handshake. Suddenly, a massive blue wolf aura erupts behind Nihama Reiji, his eyes glowing as he reveals the terrifying scale of his mana. Kurobane stands frozen, his pupils contracting from the sheer weight of the mana filling the room. Beads of sweat roll down his face. He wonders about the overwhelming pressure as Amain Naruse watches in concern and calls his name. Vice Branch Chief turns back with a chilling grin, noting that Run sensed the subtle shift in the air. He finds the boy's intuition intriguing. He tells the group to relax, claiming he only released that killing intent to test their reactions. He was originally going to let them leave after a simple greeting, but his curiosity has been piqued. With a sharp glint in his eyes, he suddenly declares that he wants to duel the boy. The scene shifts to the Saber 7th Branch indoor training grounds, a massive facility built for high-level combat. Vice Branch Chief looks around the empty arena, remarking that while it's a bit dull without an audience, it will have to suffice. He believes this private setting will allow Kurobane to unleash his full power without restraint. He stares directly at Ren, asking for confirmation. He wants to see what the boy is truly made of. Amain Naruse is stunned. A mock battle with the Vice Branch Chief himself? This is far more than a simple test. The chief admits he's a battle maniac at heart and sees immense potential radiating from Kurobane. He acknowledges the boy's skill, impressed that he didn't flinch when the killing intent was directed at him earlier. Extending a hand, he asks one final time, "What do you say?" Saber is an elite group of wizards, and even among them, this man stands at the absolute peak. Kurobane narrows his eyes. He's curious about the man's abilities, but more focused on deciphering that strange feeling of intimidation. Behind the Vice Branch Chief, a massive blue wolf aura roars to life, visual proof of his overwhelming mana capacity. From the sidelines, the other students remark that the Vice Branch Chief is just as battle-hungry as the rumors suggested. Man in the red suit notes that the chief likely wants to gauge Kurobane's true combat potential and value as a fighting force. While he believes in the boy's talent, he warns that facing a seasoned pro like the Vice Branch Chief will be an uphill battle. Amain Naruse remains steadfast, her eyes fixed on the arena. She knows Kurobane isn't someone to be underestimated. The Vice Branch Chief begins the duel with a test, conjuring a swirling orb of fire in his palm. He launches the fireball with a shout, the projectile tearing through the air toward Kurobane. Kurobane calmly analyzes the attack, its basic fire attribute magic, making it easy to intercept. The Vice Branch Chief isn't done. He follows up instantly, declaring he won't make this easy. A massive explosion rocks the training grounds as the fire and mana collide in a blinding flash of heat. Amain Naruse gasps in shock as she sees the fire split apart, unable to believe what she's witnessing. Through the smoke and embers, Kurobane moves with incredible speed, his silhouette cutting through the flames. The Vice Branch Chief's eyes widen as he realizes his initial attack has been completely bypassed. A sudden burst of ice and blue energy erupts from the ground, a devastating counterattack launched from within the chaos. Chief is genuinely impressed. He can't believe the boy managed to counterattack in the middle of all that fire. Kurobane stands calmly as the ice crystals settle, having executed his plan with surgical precision. He intentionally created a barrier of ice the moment the fire got close, using the resulting explosion as a smokescreen. A predatory smile spreads across the Vice Branch Chief's face. He realizes this duel is going to be much more fun than he anticipated. Amain Naruse is amazed by the reaction time, but she's still trying to process how that fireball was destroyed. The man in the red suit explains that Kurobane likely released his own magic power after the fire was launched, causing it to split from the inside. A student with glasses watches in frustration, remembering that Kurobane did the exact same thing during their previous mock battle. Curses under his breath, feeling the crushing weight of the difference in their levels. Kurobane is playing a completely different game. The young man wipes the sweat from his brow, a defiant smirk playing on his lips. He isn't finished yet. With a surge of adrenaline, he prepares himself for the next round. Suddenly, the arena is consumed by a violent emerald gale. Massive pillars of rotating wind erupt, tearing up the floor and creating a chaotic barrier of debris. Man unleashes a massive wind technique. The sheer scale of the magic is staggering, threatening to shred anything caught within its radius. The young man stands his ground, analyzing the swirling vortex. He realizes the firepower of this magic is immense, surpassing even the elite wizards he has encountered before. The wind pressure becomes unbearable. The young man knows he can't stay stationary. He needs to find an opening and escape the heart of the storm. He leaps back, putting distance between himself and the cyclone. His mind is already racing, calculating the trajectory for a counterattack from the perimeter. But the assault isn't just wind. A massive surge of water magic erupts from the ground, catching the young man off guard as he tries to reposition. He shows frustration at the display of water magic. His opponent is more versatile than he initially let on. The water spikes upward, forcing the young man into the air. He's momentarily suspended, a vulnerable target with no solid ground to push off from. The man watches with a cold, calculating gaze. He knows that in midair, the youth's mobility is severely limited and prepares to end the duel. Blinding flash of energy illuminates the arena. The man is certain of his victory as he prepares a final strike. As the dust settles, a flickering afterimage is all that remains of where the young man was supposed to be. He is moving faster than the eye can track. With a heavy thud, the young man finds a foothold. He isn't falling. He's using the very debris created by the magic as a stepping stone. His eyes sharpen, glowing with a faint purple hue. He's found his rhythm, turning the chaotic environment to his advantage. Man is stunned. The youth is literally running through the air, using fragments of earth as platforms to close the distance. Mana begins to condense around the young man's hand, forming a sharp, crystalline blade of pure energy. The air hums with the intensity of his power. He swings the mana blade with surgical precision, the light cutting through the remaining magical remnants of the cyclone. The two clash in a spray of sparks and mana. The young man meets the opponent head-on, their blades locked in a test of raw strength. The force of the impact sends them both skidding back. The young man maintains his composure, his gaze never leaving his opponent. From the sidelines, a girl watches with bated breath, her expression filled with concern. The tension in the room is at a breaking point. The man stands tall, acknowledging that the youth has done well to survive this long, though his tone suggests he's still holding back. A sinister grin spreads across the man's face. He suspects the young man is hiding his true strength, a trump card that hasn't been played yet. The man reveals that he has heard reports of a mysterious magic the youth possesses, a power that defies the known laws of the current magic system. With a surge of his own mana, the man demands that the young man stop holding back. He wants to see this secret power for himself. The young man lowers his stance, his expression turning cold. He admits it is time to stop the charade. Purple flames begin to lick at the air around him. The young man's aura shifts, becoming darker and far more oppressive as he prepares to reveal everything. The stage is set for a transformation. The young man is about to show why he is unrivaled at the academy. The purple energy intensifies, swirling around his hand like a living flame. This power appears to manifest from a different realm. With a chilling calmness, the young man indicates that the time for games is over and he will reveal his true power. The man laughs, taunting the youth and claiming his previous efforts were just for show. The young man remains unfazed. He explains that he simply thought he could win without having to resort to his true attribute. The man's eyes narrow as he realizes the youth wasn't struggling, but was instead testing the waters while holding back a monster within. The purple flames coat the young man's entire arm. The man recognizes this as the mysterious attribute mentioned in intelligence reports. A thrill of excitement crosses the man's face. He finds the situation becoming truly interesting. In the crowd, the students are buzzing, having heard rumors of the youth's unique magic and finally seeing it in person. The man lunges forward, his blade glowing with intense light. He dares the young man to show the full extent of his hidden power. He pushes off with explosive force, the ground cracking beneath his feet as he accelerates toward the youth. The blade descends, a streak of light aimed directly at the young man. The speed is incredible, leaving no room for a standard defense. The young man doesn't flinch. He activates his unique magic, the purple flames intensifying as he prepares to counter the strike with overwhelming force. Arisugawa unleashes his formidable Calamity Scythe, a sweeping arc of potent purple energy that cuts through the air with devastating force, aiming to overwhelm Kurobane Ren. Kurobane Ren's eyes sharpen, reflecting a cold resolve. He grips a shimmering ice blade, his gaze unwavering as he prepares for the impending clash. With incredible agility, Kurobane Ren swiftly evades the scythe's devastating sweep, the ground cracking under the sheer force of the residual magic as he narrowly escapes the attack. Kurobane Ren stares in disbelief at his ice sword, now cleanly severed. He internally questions how his magic-enhanced blade, stronger than subpar metal, could be cut so easily. His gaze shifts to Arisugawa, who stands empowered by the glowing purple scythe. Kurobane Ren realizes this is the true, rumored power of the legendary weapon. Kurobane Ren observes Arisugawa's fighting prowess, noting his opponent's keen intuition and battle-hardened experience, which allowed him to sense danger and react accordingly. Despite witnessing dark attribute magic, Arisugawa remains completely unfazed. Kurobane Ren wonders if his opponent still conceals further hidden abilities. Arisugawa, with a confident smirk, praises Kurobane Ren as an interesting individual, then asks if he possesses even more spells of that unique attribute. Kurobane Ren responds cryptically, then turns the question back, acknowledging Arisugawa's apparent stamina and readiness to continue the intense battle. Arisugawa lets out a small laugh, remarking that Kurobane Ren is far from a typical brat, impressed by his composure and skill. Kurobane Ren's expression hardens, a determined glint in his eyes. He declares that since Arisugawa can comprehend his power, he will now reveal his true magic. Arisugawa stands at the center of the arena, now surrounded by a swirling vortex of vibrant green mana, signaling the activation of a powerful new spell. Arisugawa grins widely, a searing flame erupting from his palm, as he announces that it is time for the final, decisive round of their battle. Izumiya stares in shock, exclaiming in disbelief that Arisugawa is simultaneously wielding two distinct magic attributes. Eleanor floats, wide-eyed, contemplating the immense difficulty of mastering even a single attribute, let alone two, and then using them both at once. Arisugawa, now radiating with both green and fiery orange mana, declares that his mastery of magic is on an entirely different level, challenging Ran to withstand his attack. He activates composite magic, intertwining the green wind and fiery orange energies into a volatile, swirling vortex that surges from his hands. Ran stands his ground, a scythe of dark energy manifesting in his hand, ready as the combined magical storm of Arisugawa's composite magic rages around him, a torrent of green and orange. Ran assesses the overwhelming power and vast range of the composite magic, realizing it would be impossible to fully reflect or eliminate such a formidable attack. In response, Ran plunges his scythe into the ground, purple energy erupting from the impact point, signifying his decision to counter directly. He channels dark attribute magic, a swirling mass of shadowy purple energy manifesting in his open palm, ready to unleash its destructive force. Ran unleashes a devastating, raging blast, a colossal wave of pure purple energy that surges forward, directly confronting Arisugawa's composite magic. Arisugawa's eyes widen in utter shock as Ran's powerful counterattack slams into his own spell. The overwhelming purple energy from Ran's blast pushes back against Arisugawa, forcing him down as his own magic is nullified. Arisugawa's arm glows intensely with residual purple energy, a testament to the sheer power he just endured from Ran's attack. The force of Ran's raging blast completely overwhelms Arisugawa, sending him reeling backward as the purple magical explosion dominates the arena. Izumiya, along with other observers, gasps in astonishment at the incredible display of power that just unfolded before their eyes. Arisugawa, recovering from the impact, wonders aloud if Ran truly managed to cancel out his complex composite magic with his own. He acknowledges that simply firing magic wouldn't be enough. Ran must have timed his counterattack with absolute precision, down to the very last second. Ran stands tall and confident. Arisugawa realizes that such an advanced mastery over magic is far beyond what a mere student should be capable of achieving. Arisugawa flashes a satisfied smirk, marveling at the existence of such an exceptionally skilled wizard. Arisugawa declares the battle concluded, his words echoing through the now quiet arena as Ran stands opposite him. Arisugawa scratches his head, genuinely surprised that Ran managed to erase his composite magic entirely, and asks if that was truly enough to satisfy him. Arisugawa admits he wished to continue experimenting, but concedes that further combat would risk collapsing the entire building. Ran simply agrees. Ran, with a slight frown, points at Arisugawa, sternly telling him not to assume he lost the match. Arisugawa extends his hand, acknowledging Ran's abilities, but declares that their true rivalry will be settled in the future. Eleanor joyfully proclaims Ran's overwhelming victory. Ran, however, questions why she is acting so smug, addressing her playfully by a nickname. Arisugawa throws an arm around Ran, playfully demanding that once he graduates, Ran must work for him, promising to pile all his responsibilities onto him. Ran simply chuckles. Izumiya approaches Ran, congratulating him on a good performance. Ran acknowledges her presence. Arisugawa looks thoughtful, a new idea forming in his mind as he considers the implications of the battle. Arisugawa remains lost in deep thought, his mind racing through tactical possibilities until a main Naruse breaks the silence, asking if their trio has officially formed a clan. The guild official smirks, suggesting that instead of waiting for graduation, they should dive straight into the field for a special assignment he has prepared just for them. The group arrives at the prestigious Sabers branch, a grand estate that serves as the headquarters for high-level operations and strategic planning. Seated within a high-tech briefing room, Arisugawa eyes the official warily, questioning the true nature of the task they've been summoned for. The official activates a holographic display, revealing a detailed map compiled by the analysis division that tracks every known gate appearance in the region. Arisugawa stares at the data, realizing that the guild's information network is far more extensive than anything he could have accessed on his own. A main Naruse leans forward, assuming their job is a standard patrol of the high-risk zones, but the official quickly shuts down that line of thinking. He points to a specific sector on the map, challenging the young hunters to notice the glaring anomaly hidden in plain sight. His expression hardens as he explains that while gates have been appearing globally for a decade, this specific area has remained completely untouched. The weight of the mystery settles over the room, leaving the team stunned by the statistical impossibility of such a peaceful zone. Arisugawa connects the dots, asking if the official believes there is something unique or perhaps dangerous keeping the gates at bay. The official admits his subordinates found nothing, but he suspects the truth is simply buried deeper than their standard sensors can reach. He leans in, offering them the chance to investigate the anomaly personally and uncover what the guild's professionals missed. Naru's Kuya glances at his companions, weighing the risks of walking into a complete unknown without guild backup. Amain Naru's eyes burn with determination. She isn't one to back down from a challenge that could change their standing in the academy. The silent nod from the rest of the team, the decision is made, they are taking the mission. Naru's Kuya looks up, his voice steady as he officially accepts the job, ready to face whatever secrets that Silent Zone is hiding. As the sun begins to set, casting a golden hue over the city, the trio sets out toward the mysterious sector. Naru's Kuya leads the way into the heart of the town, his senses heightened as he searches for any sign of supernatural interference. Amain Naru scans the surroundings, noting that everything looks perfectly normal, which only makes the lack of gates more unsettling. They decide to split their focus, blending into the crowd to see if the local residents have noticed anything out of the ordinary. The town is bathed in the long shadows of dusk, the towering buildings creating a labyrinth that hides more than just alleyways. Suddenly, Eleanor manifests, her tiny form hovering near Naru's Kuya as she lets out a thoughtful hum. Naru's Kuya stops in his tracks, asking Eleanor if she's picked up on something their human senses missed. Eleanor's eyes narrow as she confirms she can feel a faint, strange presence lingering in the air. She points toward a narrow, dark alleyway, indicating that the source of the energy is coming from deep within the shadows. The group follows her lead, moving away from the main street and into the cramped, pipelined back alleys of the district. Naru's Kuya double-checks with his familiar, and Eleanor confirms that the supernatural power is radiating from this exact spot. His eyes sharpen as he prepares to unveil the hidden truth, his focus intensifying on the wall before them. Kicking his mana into gear, Naru's Kuya activates Dark Attribute Magic, sending a surge of purple energy to tear through the illusionary barrier. The magic reveals a hidden entrance, a dark stone staircase leading down into a subterranean passage that Eleanor identifies as the source. Naru's Kuya turns to his teammates, asking if they are ready to descend into the unknown depths. Amain Naru's looks down the long, winding stairs, wondering what could possibly be hidden beneath a normal city for so long. As they reach the bottom, Naru's Kuya is the first to spot a faint glow emanating from the end of the corridor. The sight that greets them is beyond anything they expected, leaving Naru's Kuya completely speechless. Red petals drift through the air like falling embers, leading toward a massive structure hidden deep underground. Amain Naru stares at the vibrant red spider lilies blooming in the dark, certain that she has never seen flowers like these in the world above. But the beauty of the flowers is quickly overshadowed by a chilling discovery. Kurobane Rin spots something ahead, his voice trembling with a mix of recognition and dread as he asks what he's looking at. Izumi appears at the glowing terminals, asking if these are the same devices he mentioned before. Kurobane Rin confirms it, noting they are identical to the machines Shido used to manifest gates. Izumiya is confused, recalling that Shido was captured and restrained by Saber. Kurobane Rin agrees, adding that this location is far too isolated from the school to be a simple coincidence. A dark realization crosses Kurobane Ren's mind. If Shido isn't behind this, it means someone else, someone far more dangerous, could be pulling the strings. Suddenly, the facility's defense system blares to life. Intruders have been detected, and the system immediately executes disposal orders against the trio. Massive, spider-like mechanical guardian crashes into the room. Izumiya screams in shock, unable to comprehend the sheer scale of the machine blocking their path. Kurobane Ren's eyes sharpen as he analyzes the threat. Whatever this thing is, its killing intent is clear, they are the primary targets. There's no time for fear. Kurobane Ren barks out an order for everyone to prepare for combat as the Guardian readies its first strike. The battle erupts in a flash of blue energy. The Guardian unleashes a devastating beam, forcing the group to scatter as the floor beneath them vaporizes. Debris flies everywhere as the mechanical beast continues its relentless assault, its movements far faster than its bulk would suggest. The Guardian's central eye glows with a menacing red light, locking onto Kurobane Ren as it prepares to fire a point-blank blast. Moving with supernatural grace, Kurobane Ren leads the charge, drawing the machine's fire to create an opening for his allies. He shouts to Izumiya and Amain Naruz, commanding them to flank the monster and strike from the sides while he holds its attention. Amain Naruz unleashes her icicle lance, freezing the Guardian's joints, while Izumiya follows up with a high-voltage lightning shot that rattles its internal circuitry. Seeing the opening, Kurobane Ren channels his dark attribute magic, his hand wreathed in a terrifying purple aura that pulses with destructive power. The roar, he executes his deadly claw skill. Purple energy slashes through the air, tearing into the Guardian's reinforced plating like paper. The impact is catastrophic. The mechanical Guardian is crushed under the weight of Ren's magic, sparks flying as its systems finally fail. Kurobane Ren stands over the smoking wreckage, commending his team on a job well done. But before he can catch his breath, a sinister voice echoes through the chamber. Ren spins around, his heart sinking. The atmosphere shifts instantly, turning heavy and suffocating as the world around him begins to distort. In the blink of an eye, the facility vanishes. Ren finds himself floating in a surreal, blood-red dimension filled with an endless maze of geometric patterns. Confused and on guard, Ren asks what just happened. Eleanor's voice rings out in his mind, her panic evident as she asks if he's all right. Man emerges from the shadows of the red void, a predatory smile on his face. He speaks with a chilling calm, stating that they have finally met. The man looms over Ren, calling him by his full name. The air itself seems to vibrate with the stranger's overwhelming presence. Ren demands to know who he is, but Eleanor's reaction is what truly terrifies him. She can barely speak, her voice trembling as she recognizes the threat. Eleanor warns him that this man is not of their world. He is a being from another dimension, possessing power that defies logic. Ren repeats the words, his mind racing. An interdimensional traveler? The stakes of this confrontation have just reached a cosmic level. Sudden, violent memory flashes before Ren's eyes, a vision of betrayal and a blade through the chest. He realizes with horror that this man is familiar. Rage boils over as Ren spits out the name Shark. The man responsible for his past life's greatest tragedy is standing right in front of him. Tension in the red void reaches a breaking point as the two adversaries lock eyes, the weight of a 1,000-year-old grudge hanging between them. Shark chuckles, seemingly enjoying Ren's reaction. He repeats that it's a pleasure to finally meet the legendary Ren in the flesh. Ren demands to know how he knows his name. He has kept his true identity hidden, yet this man speaks as if he's been watching him all along. Shark reveals that he received a report from the former headmaster, Shidu. He mocks Ren, asking if that simple explanation is enough for him to understand. Ren's suspicions are confirmed. Shidu was never working alone. He was merely a pawn for Shark and his interdimensional agenda. Eleanor calls out to him in a panic, but Ren reassures her. He tells Eleanor to stay calm, promising that he will handle this monster once and for all. Clenching his fist, Ren's resolve hardens. He has searched for this man across lifetimes, and now he has finally found him. To Ren, Shark is more than an enemy. He is the archdemon who slaughtered the children he considered family. This is no longer just a battle for survival, it's pure revenge. Shark remains smug, unaware that the boy before him carries the soul of the hero Leon. However, Eleanor worries, as Shark's true power remains a terrifying mystery. Eleanor closes her eyes in prayer, desperately hoping that Ren can survive this encounter. The gap in their power levels feels like an insurmountable mountain. Shark admits his surprise, noting that he never expected a mere student to be capable of defeating his guardian. The real test is about to begin. The young man narrows his eyes, questioning the significance of the red flowers and the true purpose behind the device. The man looks down with cold indifference, choosing to remain silent. A sinister glint flashes in the man's eyes as he dismisses the situation as a waste of time. Suddenly, a blinding pillar of golden energy erupts, consuming the entire area in a violent display of power. Shielding his face from the intense glare, the youth is stunned by the strange power radiating from his opponent. The man stands within the light, manifesting a wholly magical power that he alone seems to possess. The youth's mind races. His opponent never held this power before, and he suspects outside interference. Despite the danger, the youth finds it ironic that such a man would wield the power of light. The man's hand begins to condense the golden mana, the air crackling with intensity. Manifesting a massive blade of pure radiance, the man smiles mockingly. The youth observes the summoned sword, noting that such magic is completely absent from modern records. The youth channels his own unique mana, a dark purple aura swirling around his hand. With a defiant glare, the youth shows that he is also capable of wielding a special power. The man's composure cracks as he witnesses the manifestation of a jet-black scythe. He realizes that the reports regarding the youth's capabilities were vastly underestimated. Man finds the turn of events interesting, amused by the student's attempt to turn the tables. The antagonist lunges across the battlefield, his light sword trailing golden sparks as he closes the distance. The man prepares to escalate the intensity of his assault. The youth remains vigilant as his opponent intentionally creates distance between them. A concentrated beam of light streaks past the youth's head, nearly taking him out. The light beam impacts with immense force, illuminating the dark corridors of the maze. A thin trail of blood runs down the youth's cheek from the close call. The man appears genuinely impressed that the boy managed to dodge such a high-speed projectile. The youth grips his arm, realizing that even a single direct hit from that power would be fatal. The man acknowledges the youth's strength, noting it could bring hope to the world. However, he remains intent on extinguishing that hope. The sadistic grin, the man takes delight in the prospect of defeating a hero. The atmosphere turns heavy as blood-red splatters mask the youth's vision. Igniting a dark flame in his palm, the youth prepares to confront his opponent's crimes. The man is puzzled as the youth suddenly drops his scythe, wondering what the strategy could be. The man lunges forward with his light blade, determined to end it before his opponent can react. The youth's aura explodes into a deep violet hue as he activates his magic. Massive purple chains erupt from the ground, surging toward the target. The man is caught completely off guard as the magical chains wrap around his limbs, pinning him in place. The youth appears behind him in a blur of motion, his scythe ready to deliver a final blow. The decisive swing, the black blade carves through the air. The man's body begins to dissolve into particles of light. A laugh echoes as it is revealed that the body was nothing more than an illusion. As his image fades, the man promises a future encounter where the debt will be paid. Spectral image of the enemy begins to dissipate into the ether, but not before leaving behind a chilling promise. He will return to face Kurobane Ren in his true, physical form when the time is right. Kurobane Ren remains motionless, eyes closed, as the weight of the battle and the lingering mana settle around him. A heavy silence follows, marking the end of the high-stakes confrontation. Suddenly, his eyes snap open, glowing with a sharp purple intensity. A voice cuts through the stillness, calling out to him in desperate concern. Izumiya rushes to his side, her face pale with relief as she sees him regain consciousness. She demands to know what happened, her mind reeling from the chaotic display of power she witnessed. Kurobane Ren stands up and brushes the dust from his clothes. He keeps his gaze steady, telling her that explanations will have to wait. For now, their priority is to evacuate the area immediately. His expression hardens as he thinks back to the retreating foe. He mutters a cold challenge to Shark, accepting the inevitable rematch on his own terms. The resolve in his eyes is unmistakable. Kurobane Ren makes a silent oath that the next time they cross paths, there will be no more games. He will settle the score once and for all. Later, atop the academy roof, Eleanor floats beside him to deliver the bad news. Despite their efforts, they haven't found a single trace of Shark's presence. Eleanor sighs, wishing they could have at least pinpointed the location of the enemy's main body. Kurobane Ren stares at the horizon, realizing they are back to square one regarding their intel. However, Eleanor notes that Shark has finally started taking direct action. She reassures Kurobane Ren that a future confrontation is inevitable, and he nods grimly in agreement. She pumps her fists with confidence, acknowledging the opponent's strength but reminding him that his dark magic gives him the ultimate edge to secure victory. Kurobane Ren falls silent, his gaze drifting as a lingering question begins to gnaw at him. Noticing his hesitation, Eleanor asks what's bothering him. He admits that something fundamental about his powers doesn't quite add up. He reflects on the dark magic he obtained in the depths of the abyss. Eleanor had claimed it was a gift from the goddess, but he finds that explanation contradictory. He questions why a goddess would bestow the dark attribute, which typically signifies corruption, rather than the expected power of light. Eleanor has a sudden realization, her eyes widening as she prepares to explain the mechanics behind his unique mana. She explains that the abyss he fell into was saturated with dark magic particles. Kurobane Ren listens intently, processing this new information about the source of his strength. Eleanor warns that these particles are so volatile that an ordinary human would lose control and crumble away instantly upon contact. Memory of that suffocating darkness returns to him. He finally understands the true nature of the oppressive sensation he felt during his time in the depths. She reveals that magic is more than just raw energy. It is heavily influenced by the environment it is drawn from. Because those particles aren't found in ordinary places, the goddess had to work with whatever was available within the depths of the abyss. Even a divine being has limits when operating in such a desolate, corrupted environment. She used the only power source at hand to save his life. Eleanor recalls how difficult it was to send even simple messages back then. Kurobane Ren realizes that the incomprehensible system prompts he received were her desperate attempts to communicate. She praises him for his incredible feat, noting that he didn't just survive the darkness, he mastered it and turned it into his own power. Kurobane Ren looks up at the clear sky, the contrast between his current life and the abyss more apparent than ever. Eleanor's voice softens as she tells him she has been watching over him through every hardship he's endured. She witnessed his past life as Leon, seeing him lose his comrades and fight 1,000,000 monsters alone in a war that seemed never-ending. He suffered immensely until the goddess finally opened the gate to teleport him to this new world. During those dark times, Eleanor could only watch from the sidelines, unable to intervene directly to ease his pain. She reaffirms her identity as the goddess's angel, stating that her divine mission is to help him save this world. More than her mission, she expresses a personal desire. She wants to see his own heart's wish fulfilled above all else. Kurabain processes her words, the weight of his dual existence as a student and a legendary hero settling in. He acknowledges that while he is currently inhabiting this body, he still carries the duties and burdens of his past life. He offers a sincere thanks to Eleanor, promising her that he will hunt down Shark and end his threat once and for all. With a bright smile, she pledges to support him every step of the way, her loyalty to him absolute. The moment of resolve is suddenly interrupted by the sharp ringing of his phone. Kurabain looks down, wondering who could be calling him at a time like this. The moment is suddenly interrupted by the sharp ringing of a phone. Ren looks down at the screen, puzzled by the timing of the call. Eleanor, his tiny familiar, peeks over his shoulder with a surprised, "Eh?" Nihama approaches with a confident smirk and addresses the boy. "Yo, you look like you're in a good mood." And turns to confront him. "Nihama-san, what's the matter?" Nihama remains composed. "Nothing much. I just wanted to tell you something." Curious, Ren asks, "What is it?" Nihama leans forward with a slight smile, drawing out the suspense. "Well, the truth is..." Before he can continue, Nihama's own phone begins to ring. "Oh, my subordinates are calling. Give me a second." He excuses himself to take the call. Nihama answers, "It's me." "What's up?" The voice on the other end is urgent. "Vice Branch Chief Nihama, we have a problem. A Category Blue gate just appeared, but..." Nihama's expression hardens as he dismisses the panic. "A Category Blue? You don't need to call me for that. Just handle it yourselves." The subordinate continues, and Nihama's eyes suddenly widen in shock as the location of the gate is revealed. The scene shifts to a vibrant but ominous cityscape bathed in a surreal pink light. Blood-red spider lilies bloom everywhere, and the air pulses with a chilling energy as petals drift through the streets. Nihama rushes through the glowing environment. "Hey, what's the situation?" An official on the scene, looking distressed, calls out, "Vice Branch Chief Nihama, look." A man nearby collapses in agony, enveloped in a sinister red aura. Nihama watches in horror as the phenomenon takes hold. Multiple figures are already scattered across the ground, their bodies succumbing to the unseen force amidst the drifting crimson petals. Nihama kneels to examine a victim, his expression grim. "This phenomenon, TCH, is the effect of those flowers, isn't it?" The official asks, "Nihama-san, what in the world is happening?" Nihama grimaces. "This is what I wanted to tell you about earlier." A glowing pink vial is held up, a sample recovered from the underground facility. Ren asks, "Is that the sample we brought back?" Nihama confirms, "Yeah." Saber finished the analysis. His eyes are sharp with the weight of the revelation. He continues, "They discovered that these flowers can drain wizards of their mana." Main Naruse reacts with disbelief. "The flowers can do that?" Nihama admits, "I didn't even know something like this existed." Nihama gestures toward the fallen, which means these people were likely drained by the flowers' effects too. The official explains the dire implications. "It doesn't seem to work on anyone whose mana is above a certain threshold, but at this rate it'll be nearly impossible to evacuate the civilians." Amain and the others exchange worried glances, fully realizing the severity of the crisis. Nihama's expression shifts to one of resolute determination as he reaches a decision. Addressing the group, Nihama declares, "I'm leaving the situation out here to you and Headmaster Genis." He elaborates, "It's better to have someone who can take charge of the evacuation stay behind, after all." The official sighs in resignation. "I suppose it can't be helped." He accepts the responsibility. Nihama's eyes gleam with a stern command. "In exchange, make sure you close this gate properly." Amain Naruse offers a confident smile. "Understood," she says, her determination clear. The scene shifts to a close-up of their boots stepping onto a desolate, snowy landscape as they enter the gate. The heroes venture into a vast, treacherous mountain range, revealing the true scale of the environment inside the gate. Amain shields her eyes from the wind, her expression grim. It doesn't feel like a Category Blue at all." Ren connects the dots as they move through the snow. "A flower that drains mana. I'm certain Shark has something to do with this." His fist clenches in resolve. "I don't know what he's planning, but we have to stop it." Ren looks up, his eyes burning with determination. "Let's go." Beside him, his companion exhales a strained breath, bracing himself for the battle ahead. The true threat is revealed. A colossal, ice-shrouded monster with glowing red eyes towers over the landscape amidst the falling petals. Colossal, ice-shrouded monster, its red eyes burning with malevolence, unleashes a terrifying aura that distorts the air. Red petals cascade around its towering form as the young man and his allies face the impossible threat. The young man struggles against the pressure, his expression strained as he thinks, "Ugh, I didn't expect things to turn out like this." His thoughts drift back to their initial progress. "Things were going smoothly after we entered the gate. We kept advancing while defeating enemies. But then, a sudden, ominous shift occurs, and their smooth progress abruptly halts." Earlier, the group moved confidently through the snowy landscape, their initial expedition seemingly without major incident. The true challenge was the emergence of a massive entity formed of ice and rock, its core glowing with cold energy. The young man observes the towering monster, identifying it as a familiar high-level boss. He calmly assesses the threat, noting its powerful attacks but slow movement, and devises a strategy to take it down. The monster begins its assault, its massive fist glowing with potent blue energy as it prepares to strike. With immense force, the creature slams its fist into the ground, unleashing a devastating wave of icy power. Suddenly, the monster's ice armor cracks, revealing an ominous, fiery red glow from within, its eyes now burning with an intense orange light. The monster unleashes a furious, fire-infused punch, the impact erupting in a blinding explosion of energy. The monster's face contorts in a silent roar, its entire body now cracked and radiating intense heat, a clear sign of a power surge. The young man responds with his own counterattack, manifesting a weapon of pure golden energy to engage the transformed foe. His companion launches a fiery assault, her hand engulfed in crimson flames as she strikes the ice-clad giant. The young man declares it is time for the finishing blow, preparing a powerful, wide-sweeping attack with his weapon. He launches himself forward in a blur of purple energy while a blue energy blast strikes the monster from above. The monster recoils, its chest core flaring intensely with blue light as it absorbs the impact. The monster is engulfed in a blinding explosion of blue energy, seemingly overwhelmed by the combined assault. A warrior unleashes a devastating scythe attack, but the monster retaliates, sending the young man flying through the air. Warrior rushes to the young man's aid, asking, "Are you okay?" The young man, disoriented on the ground, mutters, "Ugh, what just happened?" The young man's eye glows with an intense purple, his expression one of shock and confusion as he processes the unexpected turn of events. The group stands amidst a field of vibrant red spider lilies. The young man observes the scene with a grim realization, thinking, "That is..." The monster now stands completely transformed, its body a dark, cracked stone glowing with an ominous red aura amidst the field of blood-red flowers. The monster charges its fist, its core pulsating with raw, destructive red energy as it prepares for another attack. The young man watches in horror, sweat beading on his brow as he exclaims, What is it trying to do?" The monster unleashes its full power, its fist glowing with an even more intense, blinding red light ready to strike. The young man is caught in the monster's devastating red energy blast and sent flying backward, exclaiming, "Damn!" The young woman screams in alarm as he is thrown back, while a middle-aged man looks on in shock. The young man lies injured on the snowy ground, contemplating the anomaly. This monster shouldn't be able to use attacks like that, so why? A small floating companion expresses deep concern, crying out to ask if he is okay. Despite his injuries, the young man manages a slight smile, reassuring her with a quiet, "Yeah, somehow." The young man asks his allies, "Are you both all right?" The young woman, looking back, responds, "Why, yes." The young man's gaze hardens, his purple eyes reflecting unwavering resolve in the face of the overwhelming threat. He deduces the truth, that power clearly isn't from a normal enemy. He considers how the mysterious red flowers and the core's discoloration are influencing the monster. With renewed determination, the young man resolves, "If that attack comes again, there's no guarantee we can withstand it. We need to strike first." The young man charges his power, purple energy swirling around his hand as he prepares to unleash dark magic, aiming directly for the monster's core. He unleashes a devastating surge of destructive pressure, a powerful purple blast that obliterates everything in its path. Despite the devastating surge of purple energy, the massive golem remains standing, its glowing core pulsing with malevolent light, completely unharmed. Kurobane grits his teeth, realizing that his current power isn't enough. They need a much stronger spell to break through that defense. Eleanor floats near him, suggesting he unleash the legendary spell from his past life as Leon, the only thing capable of piercing the beast. Izumiya and the other students look on with hesitation, sensing the immense risk involved in such a high-level incantation. Noticing his intense focus, they realize Kurobane already has a plan, and he confirms he's been preparing a specific spell for this exact moment. However, the spell requires time to gather mana, prompting his allies to step up and buy him every second he needs. Amain Naruse and her companion refuse to back down, declaring they can still move and will hold the line for his final blow. Kurobane accepts their resolve with a sharp nod, telling them to leave the rest to him as he begins his meditation. With a unified shout, the team charges forward, putting their lives on the line to distract the Titan. Golem roars, its massive frame casting a shadow over the battlefield as the students engage the monster head-on. The beast strikes with earth-shattering force, sending shockwaves through the ground as the battle intensifies. Amain Naruse ignites her mana, preparing a fire-based distraction to keep the golem's eyes off the gathering energy behind her. Kurabain closes his eyes, tuning out the chaos of the battlefield to focus entirely on the complex mental image of the spell. Flames of orange and shadows of purple begin to dance around his hands, merging into a volatile cocktail of destructive mana. Izumiya watches in stunned silence, her eyes wide as she witnesses the birth of a magic that shouldn't be possible for a student. Eleanor cheers him on as the mana reaches its peak, urging him to unleash that devastating attack once more. Amain Naruse pours the last of her strength into a defensive barrier, vowing that she won't let the golem interrupt his casting. The golem is hammered by a barrage of elemental strikes, forced back by the sheer desperation of the student's assault. Kurabain opens his eyes, which now glow with a piercing purple light, signaling that the preparation is complete. He releases the energy, creating a massive, swirling vortex of dark fire that tears through the air with a terrifying howl. The dual attribute blast collides with the golem, the fusion of dark and fire magic obliterating its stone armor instantly. Onlookers are horrified and amazed. The fusion of two attributes is a feat only high-ranking officials can perform. The golem shatters into 1,000 crystalline fragments, its core finally extinguished by the overwhelming power of the spell. As the dust settles, his teammates realize that Kurabain is on a completely different level than any hunter they've ever seen. A final explosion of mana clears the field, leaving nothing but the echoes of the battle and the scent of ozone. Eleanor celebrates their victory with joy, while Kurabain catches his breath, exhausted but relieved that the threat is gone. Despite the win, Kurabain looks toward the horizon with a heavy heart, sensing a much larger concern looming over them. His eyes fall upon the strange red flowers blooming amidst the wreckage, a phenomenon that could spell disaster if it spreads to other gates. In a hidden chamber, the middle-aged antagonist watches the results on a screen, noting that even his flower-enhanced monsters have fallen. He remains calm, his eyes cold and calculating as he prepares for the next phase of his dark design. Before him sits a ritual altar glowing with sinister energy, surrounded by torches that flicker with an unholy light. With a cruel smile, he declares that the revival of the Demon King Belfar is finally within reach. Days pass after the battle with the Frost Gigas, and the struggles for Kurabain and his team only grow more intense. The red flowers are more than just mana drains. They are catalysts that turn ordinary monsters into unstoppable engines of destruction. This terrifying truth is broadcast across every screen in the city, turning the sky into a backdrop for a mass exodus as the red flowers signal an unprecedented threat. The atmosphere at the academy is heavy. Students stand in grim silence, the weight of the evacuation order pressing down on their shoulders. Uncertainty flickers in their eyes, a stark contrast to the disciplined uniforms they wear as they await further instructions. Headmaster Janus takes the podium, his voice booming as he officially commands the student body to relocate to a safer district immediately. Meanwhile, far from the city center, the elite estates remain eerily quiet, though the tension of the approaching storm reaches even these walls. In the training arena, a senior student steps forward, addressing his peers with a fire that refuses to be extinguished by fear. He slams his fist against the air, declaring that they cannot simply sit back while the world burns around them. A roar of defiance erupts from the crowd, the students' collective spirit igniting as they choose to fight rather than flee. As the chaos intensifies, Vice Branch Chief Nihama takes command of the streets, organizing the defense against the encroaching mana beasts. On the outskirts, Kurabain exhales as the shimmering barrier of a gate finally seals shut, marking another hard-won victory. Amain Naruse approaches him, wiping sweat from her brow as she acknowledges the vital support provided by the Saber members. Kurabain stares at the horizon, noting that clearing these gates has become exponentially more difficult since the red flowers appeared. Eleanor floats beside him, her tiny face etched with worry as she asks if the mysterious Prince Shark is the one pulling the strings. Izumiya adjusts her glasses, her voice trembling slightly as she wonders how much longer they can endure this relentless onslaught. In the shadows, a malevolent presence smiles, vowing to repay his debt and reveal his true self during their next encounter. Kurabain feels a sudden chill, his sharp eyes scanning the area as he senses a shift in the mana that feels far too personal. Kurabain turns his back to the sunset, questioning what exactly Shark is planning for the city. The sun begins to dip below the skyline, casting long, golden shadows over a world that is rapidly changing. A white of soars over the academy buildings, a fleeting symbol of peace amidst the rising smoke of training and battle. The group's attention is suddenly diverted by a sharp sound, their instincts on high alert as they look toward the training grounds. Massive projectile of earth and mana impacts the ground, kicking up debris as the students engage in high-intensity combat drills. Bolts of lightning and pillars of flame light up the arena as the students push their magic to the absolute limit. Kiribane is stunned, wondering why so many students have ignored the evacuation order to stay and fight. Headmaster Janus appears behind them, his expression uncharacteristically warm as he greets the group. He commends them for their recent victory, noting that the reports of them defeating a high-tier enemy have already spread. Kiribane asks directly why the students weren't forced to evacuate as planned. Janus explains that the students volunteered, refusing to be mere bystanders while their world was under threat. A small smile plays on the headmaster's lips as he tells Kiribane that it was his own actions that inspired them. Instead of running, they beg to be taught real combat, wanting to stand on the front lines alongside their hero. Janus laughs, recalling his days as an instructor and admitting he couldn't help but respect their fierce spirit. In the background, students continue to spar, their determination evident as they refuse to call it a day until they've mastered their skills. Kiribane looks on, a sense of pride and responsibility swelling within him as he sees the impact of his journey. Izumiya takes a long drink of water, still processing the fact that the entire student body has chosen this dangerous path. Amain Naruse agrees, noting that while it's a heavy burden, they can't complain about having such dedicated allies. Izumiya looks at Kiribane, pointing out that the reason the academy has transformed is entirely because of him. She remarks that a student who used to be at the bottom of the rankings is now the beacon of hope for everyone else. Amain Naruse beams at him, confirming that his example has motivated every single person in the district to step up. Kiribane takes it all in, the weight of his influence finally sinking in as he looks at his friends. Suddenly, Izumiya's expression sharpens, her gaze snapping toward a strange disturbance in the distance. The group follows her gaze, their hearts racing as they realize that the true battle is only just beginning. On the training grounds, Makabe unleashes a desperate strike, his movements fueled by a raw, unbridled aggression that catches the attention of everyone watching from the sidelines. Kiribane watches the display with a look of genuine surprise, while Eleanor floats beside him, recalling that this was the very delinquent who used to torment him in his past life as Leon. Despite his heavy breathing and trembling limbs, Makabe refuses to back down, snarling at his concerned classmate to shut up as he prepares for another round. His teeth grit in frustration, his mind consumed by a singular, burning obsession. He refuses to suffer another defeat at the hands of Kiribane. The defiant roar, he demands the next opponent step forward, his spirit refusing to break even as his body reaches its absolute limit. Observing from a distance, the student council members note the change in his demeanor, realizing that Kiribane's presence has fundamentally shifted the competitive landscape of the academy. Kiribane offers a faint, knowing smile, acknowledging the growth of his former rival as the sun begins to set over the horizon. He reflects on the days before his awakening, when he was nothing more than a target for ridicule, a stark contrast to the power he now commands. Suddenly, a thick, ominous shroud of dark mana begins to coil upward, twisting the atmosphere into something cold and suffocating. Kiribane stands at the edge of the balcony, his eyes narrowing as he senses a massive disturbance rippling through the mana of the entire school grounds. His purple eyes glow with a sharp intensity, cutting through the encroaching shadows as the reality of the situation begins to set in. Amain Naruse and the other students look on in horror, their breath hitching as the sky itself seems to bleed into a deep, unnatural crimson. Confusion turns to panic on the field as the students realize the training session has been interrupted by something far more sinister than a simple duel. The middle-aged antagonist looks up at the darkening sky, his face pale with the realization that a high-level anomaly is manifesting right before his eyes. Eleanor cries out to Kiribane, pointing toward the center of the field where the very ground begins to transform into a nightmare. An extreme close-up reveals Kiribane's pupil dilating in shock as he recognizes the signature of a forbidden magic he hasn't seen in centuries. Blood-red spider lilies burst through the pavement, blooming with terrifying speed as they spread across the arena like a plague. In seconds, the entire training field is carpeted in a sea of red, the flowers pulsing with a malevolent light that signals the arrival of a true catastrophe. Massive pillars of fire erupt from the earth, incinerating the air and creating a barrier that traps everyone within the school's perimeter. The students are paralyzed by fear, their eyes wide as they watch the world they knew dissolve into a chaotic battlefield of flame and shadow. Winged monsters begin to pour out of massive, ornate gates that have manifested in the sky, their screeching cries echoing through the academy. Amain Naruse gasps as she realizes the sheer scale of the invasion, the situation spiraling out of control faster than any of them can react. Kiribane clenches his teeth, his mind racing to formulate a plan as he whispers a dark realization under his breath. High above the chaos, a mysterious blonde woman looks down at the flower-covered grounds with a cold, sadistic chuckle. The chilling smile, she declares that the time has come to begin the harvest, her eyes glinting with the promise of impending slaughter. The sky gates open wider, unleashing a torrent of draconic beasts that dive toward the defenseless students below with lethal intent. Monsters swarm the field, their massive wings casting shadows of death as they hunt the students who are now trapped within the red flower field. A student collapses to his knees, clutching his chest as he feels his very life force being siphoned away by the sinister blooms beneath him. Panic spreads like wildfire as his friend rushes to his side, only to find that the red flowers are actively draining the mana from their bodies. The realization hits them with crushing weight. The flowers aren't just for show, they are a mana-draining trap designed to weaken them for the slaughter. Ferocious wolves leap through the air, their fangs bared as they target the weakened students who can no longer summon the strength to defend themselves. Despair takes hold as the students realize they are completely outmatched, their mana depleted and their enemies closing in from every side. Urbane Rin and Amain Naruz prepare to engage, their mana flaring as they stand as the last line of defense against the encroaching tide of monsters. A flash of purple energy cuts through the air, striking down a wolf in mid-leap as the counterattack finally begins with explosive force. Curabane Rin moves with a speed that defies the human eye, a blur of motion as he navigates the deadly field to protect his classmates. Standing tall amidst the chaos, Curabane Ren commands the survivors to retreat, his voice steady and full of authority as he tells them to leave the rest to him. Scanning the battlefield, the woman realizes the sheer scale of the threat, noting that this situation has spiraled far beyond normal parameters. Beside her, the others remain tense, knowing they can't afford to back down now. The young man gazes at the crimson horizon, his mind racing as he connects the dots between the blooming red flowers and the sudden, massive outbreak of gates across the area. Suddenly, a voice cuts through his thoughts, urgently calling out to him. A powerful magical reaction has been detected nearby that demands immediate attention. Deep within the shadowed woods, a familiar and malevolent aura begins to manifest. The presence of the mastermind is looming just ahead. A sinister smirk plays across the hidden enemy's face, a silent promise of the carnage yet to come as the trap finally begins to close around the academy. The young man grits his teeth, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. The culprit has finally stepped out of the shadows. He recalls the chilling words spoken by the antagonist earlier, the horrific claim that the students of this academy were nothing more than food for their ambitions. The red flowers aren't just for show, they are actively absorbing mana from the surroundings. The young man wonders what dark entity or objective is benefiting from this stolen energy. Noticing his sudden shift in demeanor, his companion asks what's wrong, sensing the heavy weight of the revelation just uncovered. The young man explains that he's sensed the man from the underground facility. There is no longer any doubt that individual is the one pulling the strings behind this chaos. The gravity of the situation sinks in for the rest of the group. If the man he fought before is here, it means the entire academy has become a primary target. The look of cold determination, the young man confirms that this entire nightmare is undoubtedly part of a grand scheme to dismantle their world. High above, the sky turns into a hellscape as dragons rain down fireballs, turning the academy grounds into a literal war zone. Understanding the stakes, his allies urge the young man to press forward. They promise to hold the line here, telling him to go and deal with the source of the problem. The young man hesitates for a moment, his protective instincts clashing with the tactical necessity of leaving his friends behind to face the horde. The woman looks back with a confident smile, reminding him that fighting against such threats is his destiny. She tells him that he wouldn't listen even if they tried to stop him. The final shout, the group splits up, their boots hitting the ground with purpose as they charge into the thick of the monster-infested stadium. The air crackles with energy as high-level magic circles manifest. The students unleash their full power, desperate to keep the monsters at bay. The woman and her comrades weave through the chaos, their spells clashing against the dark creatures in a desperate struggle for survival. A massive shadow looms over the field as a giant serpent lunges from the darkness, its fangs bared and ready to strike at the distracted hunters. Massive pillar of energy erupts, signaling a devastating counterattack that sends shockwaves rippling through the arena. The young man watches in alarm as the number of monsters continues to swell. A voice cries out in panic, warning him that the enemies are becoming too numerous to handle. Just as the situation looks dire, a powerful presence enters the fray. It's the headmaster, his expression calm yet radiating an immense, authoritative pressure. The headmaster doesn't waste a second, immediately channeling his mana to activate a high-tier earth magic spell. With a sharp command, he triggers a surge of crushing force, a spell designed to flatten everything within its massive radius under the weight of the earth itself. Beams of light slam into the ground, obliterating the monsters instantly as the earth heaves and groans under the sheer force of the headmaster's power. The impact is catastrophic for the invading horde as the stadium is engulfed in a blinding flash of magical energy and debris. As the dust settles, the once threatening wolves lie defeated in the craters left behind by the overwhelming magical display. Young man looks on in awe, recognizing the man who just saved them. The headmaster stands tall, his presence a beacon of hope amidst the ruin. The headmaster turns to the students with a reassuring smirk, vowing that as long as he is standing, not a single one of them will be harmed by these creatures. But the respite is short-lived. A massive, crystalline golem emerges from the central gate, its sheer size dwarfing everything else on the battlefield. The young man's eyes widen in shock as he senses the overwhelming power radiating from this new monstrosity. This is on a completely different level. He barely has time to process the threat before something else catches his eye, leaving him momentarily speechless. Out of nowhere, another warrior charges in with a roar, his fist glowing with energy as he delivers a devastating punch directly into the golem's face. The impact sends shockwaves through the area as he lands gracefully, his arrival shifting the momentum of the battle once again. He turns to the young man, revealing that he's heard everything. He knows the mastermind is here and is ready to settle the score. He acknowledges that the young man likely has a lot to say about his sudden appearance, but for now, they have a common enemy to crush. He admits that he knows the young man is probably wondering why he showed up now, but he insists on setting the record straight before they go any further. With a rare moment of humility, he looks the young man in the eye and delivers a startling confession. He completely underestimated him. Acknowledging a miscalculation, the young man offers a blunt apology, his gaze steady as he prepares for the fallout of his previous judgment. Suddenly, a student charges forward, his voice booming with a challenge as he demands to know if the warrior is truly the strongest on these grounds. The battlefield is a chaotic mess of magic and steel, dominated by a massive mechanical golem that looms over the academy's defenders. The headmaster arrives with news of reinforcements, assuring the warrior that the situation here is being handled by the academy's elite. With a subtle clench of his fist, the man prepares to move, his eyes burning with a cold, calculated intent to end this farce. He breaks into a sprint, leaving the others behind as he rushes toward the source of the encroaching darkness. The academy grounds are bathed in an eerie red glow, the atmosphere thick with the scent of mana and impending doom. Each step he takes resonates with power, his focus narrowing on the figure waiting for him at the edge of the woods. A blur of motion cuts through the darkness as he closes the distance in a heartbeat. He finally comes face to face with the mastermind, a man whose presence radiates a familiar, malevolent energy. The warrior snarls at his opponent, his eyes flashing with a murderous light as the confrontation begins. The villain responds with a chilling chuckle, seemingly amused by the hero's arrival as if everything is proceeding exactly as planned. With a smug grin, the villain admits he expected the warrior to arrive sooner, showing zero fear in the face of the legendary fighter. The warrior demands answers, questioning why the mastermind would target the academy and put so many lives at risk. The villain explains with terrifying simplicity, this entire operation is merely a harvest, a means to an end. He gestures to the red flowers blooming across the grounds, revealing their true nature as parasitic tools designed to absorb mana. The warrior's blood runs cold as the truth hits him. All of this is a sacrifice meant to summon a dark entity into this world. The villain details the ritual, explaining that the revival of the entity will grant him unparalleled power, turning the academy into a mere stepping stone. The pieces of the puzzle fall into place for the warrior, confirming the villain's deep-rooted connection to a malevolent dark force. Mastermind reveals the years of experimentation and preparation that have led to this moment, his voice laced with pride over his dark achievements. However, the villain notes that an interfering anomaly has been disrupting his plans, a variable he hadn't fully accounted for until now. His gaze sharpens as he claims to have finally understood the true nature of that anomaly, his eyes locking onto the warrior. The warrior tenses, wondering just how much this villain has managed to uncover about his hidden past. With a chilling certainty, the villain declares that he knows the warrior's true identity, stripping away the hero's mask. The truth is exposed. The warrior is not a mere student of this world, but a being from a different realm entirely. The revelation hangs heavy in the air, a secret that could change the fate of both worlds if it were to get out. The villain's grin widens as he sees the surprise on the hero's face, relishing the moment he gained the upper hand. Stakes have never been higher as the true nature of this conflict is finally laid bare for all to see. The villain explains that his suspicions began with a report about the academy's weakest student suddenly awakening to godlike power. He recalls the recent battle where a student unleashed a mysterious attribute magic, a power that felt disturbingly familiar. That presence matched a signature the villain had sensed long ago in a forbidden cave, linking the warrior to an ancient legend. The warrior shouts in anger, reminding the villain that his original mission was to seize supremacy in his own world, not this one. He demands to know how the villain even managed to cross the dimensional barrier, but the question is simply brushed aside. With a snarl, the warrior accepts the challenge, ready to settle this ancient grudge once and for all as the air crackles with magical energy. The antagonist, with a chilling smirk, asks if it would excite them more if he eliminated the academy students first, his eyes gleaming with malicious intent. Kiribane Run remains silent, his expression grim as he processes the chilling threat, a heavy silence hanging in the air. Naruzukiya's grip tightens on his glowing purple scythe, a resolute declaration of fine, then echoing his defiance. Enveloped in a furious purple aura, Naruzukiya vows to unleash hell, his eyes burning with fierce determination as he brandishes his formidable scythe. The antagonist chuckles, acknowledging Naruzukiya's spirit but mockingly dismissing his ability to deliver on his threat, his hand glowing with a subtle, ominous power. Naruzukiya launches a devastating overhead swing, his scythe carving a wide arc of raw purple energy towards the seemingly calm antagonist. His face contorted in a snarl of effort, Naruzukiya pours all his strength into the attack, mana surging around him. The colossal purple energy blast from Naruzukiya's scythe slams into a shimmering golden barrier that erupts around the antagonist, creating a blinding explosion of clashing forces. Naruzukiya's eyes widen in shock, a silent exclamation escaping him as his attack is unexpectedly repelled. The antagonist, enveloped by the intricate golden magic circle, dismisses Naruzukiya's efforts, stating the pressure is impressive but ultimately ineffective, as he has already encountered such power. Glint of cold arrogance flashes in the antagonist's eye, reinforcing his unshakable confidence in the face of Naruzukiya's assault. Naruzukiya deftly blocks a searing golden beam of light, the force of the impact sending shockwaves through the air as he struggles to hold his ground. Gritting his teeth, Naruzukiya pushes back with all his might, the golden energy beam pushing him to his limits, his hands burning from the strain. The antagonist taunts Naruzukiya, asking if he feels the overwhelming difference now that he's using his full power, revealing this is his true light attribute magic, far beyond any clone. Devastating torrent of golden light erupts from the antagonist, blasting Naruzukiya backward with immense force, sending him tumbling through the air. Naruzukiya crashes violently into the earth, creating a crater of impact as his scythe clatters away, the sheer power of the blast leaving him reeling. Blood splatters from Naruzukiya's mouth as he cries out in agony, the impact having taken a severe toll on his body. Naruzukiya curses under his breath, clutching his injured side as he struggles to regain his footing, while Eleanor's concerned voice calls out from off-panel, asking if he is alright. Naruzukiya's expression twists into a mix of anger and confusion, his thoughts racing as he questions the nature of the enigmatic magic circle that just repelled his attack. The golden magic circle around the antagonist is revealed as an absolute barrier, a perfect defensive spell that completely nullifies all incoming magic, rendering Naruzukiya's attacks useless. With a chilling smile, the antagonist extends his hand, power gathering at his palm as he delivers a grim pronouncement for Naruzukiya to die miserably. Kiribane Rin lunges forward, his hand outstretched, a surge of purple mana radiating from him as he defiantly declares he won't let the antagonist succeed. Kiribane Rin unleashes chains of restraint, sending multiple spectral purple chains hurtling towards the antagonist, aiming to bind him instantly. The chains of restraint clash against the absolute barrier, their purple energy dissipating harmlessly against the impenetrable golden defense. The antagonist observes the futile attempt, completely unfazed as Kiribane Ren's chains are effortlessly repelled by his formidable barrier. Kiribane Ren's face contorts in frustration, realizing his attack has been rendered useless against the impenetrable defense. The antagonist's eye gleams with cold certainty as he declares Kiribane Ren's efforts useless, his confidence unwavering. A blinding golden beam of pure light energy erupts from the antagonist's hand, aimed directly at Kiribane Ren. Kiribane Ren swiftly activates Mirror of Rejection, manifesting a swirling purple barrier to counter the incoming light attack. The golden beam strikes the Mirror of Rejection, its energy instantly absorbed and then violently reflected back towards its origin. Reflected light attribute magic streaks back across the battlefield, a powerful counterattack aimed directly at the antagonist. The antagonist watches the reflected beam explode in the distance, a moment of silence hanging in the air after the intense clash. Kiribane Ren stands poised on a jagged rock, seemingly having successfully evaded the reflected attack, his stance ready for the next move. The antagonist chuckles, acknowledging Kiribane Ren barely dodged a vital hit, but confidently asserts that even his magic cannot fully block the raw power of his light beam. Despite his efforts, Kiribane Ren is on the ground, visibly injured with torn clothing, revealing the hidden damage from the previous attack. Kurabanerin curses inwardly, his mind racing with desperation as he wonders what his next move could possibly be against such an overwhelming opponent. The antagonist coldly observes Kurabanerin struggling to rise, stating with certainty that in his current injured state, he has no chance of dodging further attacks. Eleanor cries out in alarm, her small face filled with shock and concern as she witnesses Kurabaneren's dire situation. Despite his injuries, Kurabanerin looks up, a renewed spark of determination in his eyes as purple mana begins to flare around him once more. Tension escalates as the antagonist prepares for the final blow, his power radiating ominously, while Kurabanerin braces for the inevitable clash. The spirit hovers helplessly above the battlefield, her heart sinking as she watches the young man pinned to the ground. Once again, she finds herself trapped in the role of a mere spectator while everything she cares about crumbles. But the spirit refuses to stay sidelined. Clenching her tiny fists, she resolves to take action, desperate to find anything within her power to change the tide of this desperate struggle. The antagonist looks down with a sadistic grin, his eyes cold and calculating. To him, the battle is already won, and he declares that it is finally time to bring this farce to a conclusion. A surge of mana begins to swirl, concentrating into a lethal vortex as the final execution begins to take shape. Suddenly, a tiny blur streaks through the air. The spirit lunges forward, grabbing onto the enemy's arm with all her strength, leaving the man completely stunned by her reckless bravery. The young man gasps in horror, calling out to his companion as he realizes the immense danger she has just put herself in. Antagonist snarls in frustration, demanding to know what this creature is. He warns her not to interfere with his work, his patience wearing thin. With a violent flick of his arm, he flings the spirit away like a bothersome insect, shouting for her to stay out of his way. The spirit is sent tumbling through the air, her small frame bouncing off the hard earth as the impact of the antagonist's power ripples through the clearing. The young man reaches out, his voice cracking as he sees the spirit lying motionless on the ground. A pained groan escapes her, signaling she is still alive but badly hurt. The antagonist scoffs at the display of loyalty, asking if that little spirit was truly his companion. He quickly dismisses it, stating that such trivialities won't change the outcome. A cold fury begins to ignite in the young man's eyes. The sight of his friends suffering triggers a dormant power deep within his soul. The antagonist unleashes a massive pillar of light, the sheer intensity of the mana incinerating the surrounding ground as he prepares his ultimate strike. Surrounded by a halo of destructive energy, the antagonist declares his intent to bury everyone here together, leaving nothing but ashes behind. The young man grits his teeth, the overwhelming pressure of the incoming attack weighing down on him. He knows that if that blast connects, none of them will survive. His thoughts race to his friends and allies. The weight of their lives rests squarely on his shoulders as the enemy's light grows blinding. The trauma of his past flashes before him. He asks himself if he is destined to lose everything once again. But that fear is instantly replaced by an iron resolve. His eyes burn with a fierce light as he swears to himself that he will never give up. He braces his foot against the scorched earth, preparing for a move that is nothing short of a desperate gamble. It's a high-stakes play, but it's the only chance they have. Rising to his feet while shielding the fallen spirit, the young man announces that he has found a way to counter the unstoppable. The antagonist merely laughs, mocking the decision to die protecting the spirit. He sneers that such a pathetic end suits a failure perfectly. The air screams as the final blow is unleashed. The antagonist shouts that this is the end for them all. A massive explosion of light and sound consumes the area, the sheer force of the impact threatening to tear the forest apart. The antagonist watches the smoke, his face twisted into a mask of triumph, certain that his enemies have been vaporized. As the dust begins to settle, his expression suddenly shifts. A flicker of doubt crosses his features as he senses an unexpected presence. He looks down, his eyes widening in pure shock as he sees a figure standing perfectly still amidst the destruction. Sweat beads on his forehead as he stammers in disbelief. The impossible has happened before his eyes. The young man stands transformed, his hair shimmering with a powerful aura. He looks on with cold eyes, noting that the antagonist's magic has been completely nullified. The tables have turned, and as the power fully awakens, the true battle is only just beginning.